What's up, Matthew from Atlanta?
Hello, Matthew from France as well.
From France. You just got back from France. Where'd you go, man? What'd you do over there?
I went to Paris. I started off in Paris a couple days, and then went to the south of France. So basically visiting my parents.
Hold on. So your parents moved back over there?
Yeah, so my mother lives there, but my stepmother also live over there as well as in the U.S.
So they go back and forth
They go
whenever
back and
they
forth.
like.
Yep.
Cool.
So, but Paris was nice. Paris was very, very pretty. I've been there before, of course, but this time it seems like they cleaned it up quite a bit.
Man, what about the protests? Did they set things on fire in France too?
Uh, yeah, the protests weren't as big as they make it out to be on the
Dude,
news.
they made it out to be a huge thing on the
I mean,
news
French
here.
people love to protest, yes, but the one that specifically happened because there was a kid that had gotten shot by a cop, and there was upheaval and but it it wasn't going on as much when I was there, and it was only maybe 2 weeks after. So other than the little bit of damage that was done, the news cycle had
Man,
started
it
to
looked like a
pass.
lot of damage.
I mean, the insurance will take care of it, and the taxpayers will pay in the end. What can you do? There'll be changes. There's always gonna be.
So is this a regular occurrence? I mean, do the police shootings happen as often in France as they do here in the U.S.?
No, not at all, not at all. And then it's much more rare, but when it does happen, there's a lot more of backlash societally, as and in the U.S., of course, there's backlashes, but it happens so much that it ends up there's so many cases it ends up getting lost. So that's why it's great to have like body cams now, because you can have eyes on the incidents that are happening, and there can always be requests of that footage to be to see what happened.
Bro, these body cameras, everybody's wearing them. All the
I
police
mean,
are wearing them here in the U.S.,
citizens should
but
be
try to
wearing
get
them.
footage off of those body cameras. Good luck. That's like finding a Bigfoot.
Finding what? The actual footage?
I mean, I don't know what you have
You
to
have to
do.
do, well, there's freedom of information, or if there's the lawsuit and discovery, you're allowed to request the footage. I mean, we have dash cams, we have cameras in our phones, and I mean, it makes sense. We're gonna have cameras on our sunglasses whenever people accept that.
That's very interesting. So you're telling me that anyone who has got a citation or any kind of police incident, they can just request that footage from by the Freedom of Information Act,
I
and
mean,
there's going to be no obstacles, no issues. They can
and
just
there's
get
always
that footage.
paperwork, and you got to pay for a lawyer at some point. So I'm sure there's other ways to do it if you know how the system works or how the paperwork uh, works. But yeah, in the end, I'm sure unless the footage gets lost, if the event becomes too political or too sensitive, but
Conveniently lost.
conveniently lost.
All right, let's scratch that. What happened in France? Did you enjoy your trip? Where did you go? What did you do?
So yeah, so Paris was nice. The next year there's actually the Olympics that are happening, so they have a reason to sharpen up and make it nice. I was there for the 14th, which is Bastille Day, and
Is that like Black Friday here in U.S.?
no, it's Independence Day for France.
It's called Black Deal.
Bastille.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's okay. So it's great. There's fireworks that are coming out of the actual Eiffel Towers. Fireworks coming out of barge on the river called La Seine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really beautiful, and there's a show where they show the tanks and the military people and all that. So yeah, it's an interesting event. It was my wife's birthday at the same exact day, so it makes it doubly better. And
Happy birthday, Chrissy.
happy birthday. And yeah, then I got to go to the south where it's nice, and it was more in the countryside. This place near Agen, which is between Bordeaux and Toulouse. South of France is known for its really good food, good wine or different spirits that you can drink. So it's always great to go over there and see all the fields and see the family and friends. And I also got to see visit the grave of one of my friends that had passed away this past year, so that was also emotional. So
Was there a close friend of yours?
yeah, and it was Julian, and he ended up passing from cancer. And he was not even 40 yet, so
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's crazy how
I went to a funeral. My friend Bobby, his mom passed away from cancer too.
it's. Well, hopefully at some point we'll figure out the different cancers, and that's why I love technology.
Maybe AI can help us figure out how
Yeah,
to
of course.
fix cancer.
Humans are gonna use all the tools necessary to try to avoid death or despair, misery, and so that's part of the problems to be solved. So it didn't happen for Julian, but and for countless people, but in the future we'll get there. So yeah, fuck cancer.
I think the name of the game is just keep your body in good condition until technology gets there, and then ride the wave.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are living great and in good condition, so to speak, and still get cancer. I mean, there's children who get cancer. I mean, it's so many different ways, genetically predispositioned or just being in a unfortunate environment.
I watched one researcher, and he says, and I forget what his name is, but he says a lot of it is not genetic. The institutions want you to think that it may be genetic, but Eskimos don't get cancer. Not like everyone else. Not like here in the U.S. or I guess Europe, and African tribes don't like tribal people. They don't get cancer like everyone else either. So something has to do with their lifestyle.
I mean,
and diet for sure.
I doubt that specific statement, but
no, that's what the researcher
sure.
says. You know.
I mean, we know cancer is a possibility in people's bodies. However it comes about, and it doesn't matter who you are, those possibilities can come about at some point. So we just have to deal with the responsibilities of it, regardless of if it's where it specifically comes from. So I'm not a biologist in the end, so I don't know how.
You can always try to pray to Jesus.
Yeah, pray all you want. Hopefully it'll help. So, I got to, being in France was great. It's always good to recharge, and it's been hot. It wasn't super unbearable in any way. The main unbearable thing was mosquitoes. It was a surprising amount of mosquitoes compared to some other times. Yeah, I mean, there's mosquitoes in Atlanta as well, but it's I don't know. These ones were a little different, a little more annoying in another way.
They're not like mosquitoes in Alaska who can just eat you alive.
Yeah, no, it's it's not clouds of mosquitoes or anything, but it's just this like omnipresence of assholes flying around.
Is there interesting fact? I think there's, I don't recall exactly the statistics, but by weight, there's more insects than all the humans. If you combined all the weight, I may be wrong.
I mean, sure, I'm sure that might be a thing. Um, it could very possibly be, but I mean, insects. The what what is it? The shrimp are insects.
Shrimp, they're like they're like sea cockroaches. I heard someone say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they look just like it too. It's hilarious. Got insects in the water, insects on land, insects in the ground,
You know, some you can
insects in the air.
I mean, people make diets out of insects. Like
Yeah, that's when I went to
Like,
Mexico.
if you-
It's crickets or ants.
they just drop them in the chocolate.
Yeah,
Crickets,
protein.
ants. Like gross, man. I wouldn't need that.
it's if you get used to it, if you grow up with it, it's easy. So, but yeah, so trip was good, and now I'm back. Get to do what I love, what I missed while being in France is riding the wheel.
Let me guess. You're riding that unicycle,
Uh-huh.
dude. I saw your I saw your Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Going 45 miles an hour
Uh-huh.
on the highway.
Not
Like-
not on the freeway. Or,
like, dude,
you got to go on.
there's
on.
People are
You can go on
crazy out there.
Peachtree,
They
like
will
the main
do
street.
not care if they run you over.
Oh yeah, of
Straight
course.
up. Straight up.
Well, it's like you're a motorcycle. People are gonna want to. They might not be able to see you. They'll be able to hear you much
The
easier.
one guy who was wearing blinking, I guess, necklace around his neck. That's a smart thing to do.
Well, anything that would attract the attention of somebody who didn't see you previously, and when you're riding the electric unicycle, you don't make any noise. So a lot of people like to have a speaker, and then just play music from there. Or there's some unicycles that make sounds when you ride, but not many, and it sounds kind of goofy.
Kind of like Musk's Tesla makes a fart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's speakers on some, so I'm sure you can make whatever sound you want.
You had any close calls?
I mean, sure. I mean, I've done off-road with it, so close calls with trees, for example, but
Anybody tap you a little bit?
no, not from that. I mean,
Or
there's
your-
been
or your
some angry drivers that you've come across where
Whoa.
you can tell that they're angry for whatever reason and they're driving erratically, but they're in a car, so you're just gonna let them drive off and do whatever. But usually on the roads that are going down, I can easily pass people. It's more that I would be passing people than other people passing me,
Mm-hmm.
depending
How-
on what
How
roads.
fast can you get one of those things to go?
Like a free spin with no load on the faster wheels would be like 68 miles an hour. But if you're standing on it, you put some sort of load, you can expect going up to 55 miles an hour before the electronics basically say no more and then shut off. So you don't want to hit that point.
It's not a sudden stop, is it?
No, so it's not. Yeah, there's no brakes like on a bicycle or anything. It'll just shut off. Maybe it'll dip, and then revive itself, and then you're just basically scaring yourself. And then that's good. But if it completely shuts off, you basically slowly float towards the ground, and then once you hit the ground, you have to kind of Superman and spread out the energy, and hopefully you don't hit anything.
How long does the charge last? What's the range of that thing?
Well, the one specifically that I'm riding is called a Begode Master. Um, eh,
Bagoat Master.
Begode. Begode is
Bagoat.
a one of the four main Chinese companies that produces the the different unicycles. Um, and the latest generation of unicycles are oh, if you want to see a website, you can go to alienrides.com or ewheels.com. Those are some US retailers or resellers. And so the Master, specifically that one that I ride, has a 2400 watt hour or amp hour battery, and that will allow me to go 30 miles if I really take it easy. And if I don't, then it's more 20, 25 miles.
And I bet you don't.
Well, it depends. Well, if you
Dude, didn't you fall on your scooter, like broke your arm and
well,
everything?
before I went and started doing electric unicycles, I was on scooter, like a M365, which is the equivalent of the bird scooters that you see around. And I was doing off-road in Grant Park, and because the wheels are so small, it's easy to fall over the handlebars. So I went over the handlebars and then ended up hurting my shoulder, and no surgery or anything, but you're just kind of pissed off from the fall. Yeah, because I screwed up, but also because of the format of the actual scooter.
So what? Hold up a second. You're blaming the scooter for falling?
Partially, yeah. Based on if you're doing off-roading, if you have a larger wheel and suspension, you have a easier time passing specific geometry that you're trying to ride through. So once I'd started seeing there's a neighbor riding by my house with the unicycle, I told myself, hey, I'm gonna try it out. Then purchased one off of a whim, and it took a week to really learn how to ride in grass. This was it was called an InMotion V11, which was an amazing wheel for the time. It was not nearly as strong or as powerful as what I'm riding now, but it's very good for somebody who's starting out. And yeah, the performance was good. Another 30 miles of range, and max speed was about 35 miles an hour. And so these machines have been evolving or changing and advancing really quickly, and a lot of people haven't noticed. They've just seen some people riding on one wheel and wondering how that's even possible.
I'm kind of.
So yeah, the latest.
This is the Begode T4.
Yeah, that's the small Master. So the Master is the one in the center.
It's gonna run you $2,300. Veterans 35.
Yeah, so they
You
can
guys
be
have
viewed as
InMotion
expensive.
V13 is $4,000.
People are gonna say those are very expensive toys.
55 miles an hour, son.
But these aren't like toys specifically. Some people think they're just toys that you hop on.
They think they're toys, but they're not.
They're not. They're machines. They're vehicles that allow you to get from point A to point B very efficiently, very quickly, without bothering
You gotta have
anybody.
some protection gear.
Yeah.
A helmet, some pads, a jacket. What do you wear? What are you wearing when you're riding one of those things?
You full face helmet, and wrist guards. I mean, helmet and wrist guards are the main things. There's plenty of people who don't like riding with gear, which is fine, but you're inevitably going to fall. And if you fall, every time I've fallen, I've used my wrists some way, somehow. So, so having the wrist guards have helped me immensely because everybody uses their hands for their job, for example.
So what does it feel like when you're riding one of those things? Does it feel like you're floating in the air?
Yeah, it's very freeing. It feels like telekinesis, but for your own body.
Telekinesis.
Yeah, so instead of moving an object from one place to another with your mind, you're moving yourself because of the way you accelerate. When you're on an electric unicycle, you have to pretty much change your center of gravity from being right above the wheel to in front of the wheel, and then the wheel then starts to catch up, like a Segway. You lean forward, and then the machine catches up under you. So here, you're just doing that, but only on one wheel. So you're balancing it like a bicycle would. The bicycle's not going to fall forward or backwards, just side to side. Well, the wheel, when you turn it on, it stops falling forward to back because of the gyroscope, but it can still fall side to side. So once you move forward and move your center of gravity. Then
How long do you think it would take somebody with not the best acrobatic skills to master, or not master, at least be somewhat proficient in riding one of those
it could
things?
be up to a month of if you don't have that much time to ride or practice, and you haven't skied or rollerbladed much in your life or done too much, and you think you're gonna get on it and go. You're not, and but like anything, it takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. But the surprising thing, or the amazing thing, was that even after riding for like 2 years, it's you're still learning. You're still pushing your own limits, or the limits of the machine that you own or that you're on. And it's always fun, and you want to go out and ride.
Dude, I think I would really hurt myself on one of those things. I used to have a
You
Gixxer
can.
750, and I pushed it to 176 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's very fast.
Let me tell you something. And I do not recommend anyone does this. Because any wrong move and you're launched into a different dimension. It really feels like you're approaching a new dimension. That's how fast things are moving. It's nonsense. Do not recommend anyone does it.
So there are people that transition from motorcycle world to the electric unicycle world because they probably scared themselves of motorcycles and said, hey, I want to kind of dial it back and still have that feeling, and which is possible. And I haven't ridden high-powered motorcycles. I mean, I've ridden scooters and whatnot, like smaller motorcycle types. But some people are saying that riding 50 miles an hour on a unicycle has similar feeling to 100 on a motorcycle. But you're slightly more safe because you're not going nearly as fast. So when you fall, you have time to slow down and not hit something at a high rate.
Those things are extreme. Motorcycles are extremely dangerous.
Oh yeah, you can, and they're very easy to actually ride fast.
My friend's brother just had an accident, was in a coma for over a week, I think. Still in a hospital, just came out of a coma.
Yeah, and you can't...
He has a family, everything's on hold. Like his family, people don't know, are so worried. It's a tragedy. And they don't know how he's going to turn out.
Because it is too easy to drive a motorcycle, and especially quickly, and especially as a beginner where you don't understand what it means to mess up and crash, and you feel like you learn, you might even have false sense of thinking you know how to ride, and then all that happens is one error, and especially if that error happens when you're going fast, it's way too easy to end yourself.
Yeah.
With the electric unicycle, yeah, you're going to commit some errors, but you're going to do that most likely at a lot slower speeds, just from the learning process. And then understand that falling is a part of the learning process, and that falling hurts like hell.
Okay, that part might be a hard sell right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the hard sell is you learn to respect not to fall, but then you get the freedom of riding and doing what you can do with these machines.
So now you do not drive your Tesla. Now you just hop on this unicycle.
It's like anything, like depending on distances that you need to get from point A to point B. If you want.
Pick up groceries and that thing?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If somebody's lives inside in the city, strongly recommend it, especially for like somebody who's in university. It's as cheap as a cheap car, and you can go. You're not really going to be traveling further than 30 miles, and then you can always charge. You just need a standard outlet, and you can charge in a reasonable amount of time. So
I can see those things maybe being more popular if they make special.
yeah, it'll happen more and more, and especially and in Atlanta, there's the Beltline project has been doing wonders, and it's they're going to keep working on it till 2030 and keep adding to it and connecting to other walking and riding paths, and hopefully adding more bicycle paths on roads, and because it's a city is more alive if people are able to be outside and see each other, not in the bubble of their car.
Right.
So, I mean,
Sitting in the office, driving to work, coming home, sitting on the couch, living a sedentary lifestyle.
yeah, of course. And then,
Not good. But then again, getting on a unicycle and falling,
you need
breaking
health
your-
insurance, though.
that's important. Yeah.
And the U.S. is not a great country when it comes to trying to fix yourself and not have to pay a lot to do that.
My aunt went to an emergency room to lower her blood pressure. She was there for 3 days. Guess what her bill was? All they did was lower her blood pressure, by the way. No surgery.
$2,000.
Try 46 grand.
Whoa. Wait, what?
They lowered her blood pressure. Though they just kept her overnight, a couple of nights.
And $46,000.
15 grand a night hotel. Yes, sir.
It's just, and then you can't even if you ask them for how much. Oh, what's the bill? There's always surprise bills that come up in the mail.
I looked at the bill. They have everything itemized, and there's an item there for 1 cent. Really? You're gonna charge me 46 grand? Forget about the 1 cent. Don't put it in there.
It's all.
That just tells you that it's a scam, because they have all the different segment of prices, so that it looks like it's not generated.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna have 1 cent in there, it's definitely generated.
That's how
There is
tough nut to crack.
nothing out there that's as cheap as 1 cent. You cannot go to a hospital and say, I want this item. Here's 1 cent.
What was the line item?
I forget. I'll find out.
Fee for service rendered.
It was 1 cent. Wow. It's like a slap in the face. The billing department just laughing at you. Here's a 1 cent. Bro, you've been following the AI developments since the
Yeah.
big boom of ChatGPT 4
Well,
coming out.
it was last year in August, September, when Dolly 2 had come out, which was
What's Dolly 2?
it was an AI that was created to where you type natural language and then it would uh, create an image from what you typed out. So type unicorn and the photo of a unicorn would materialize.
How good is the photo?
I mean, it was okay. And then fast forward
Like
a few
a
months later and it was amazing.
Super Mario graphics.
I mean, like anything, it starts from low resolution, and then they just keep bumping it up. They throw more and more hardware, and more smart people, and more data, and we get some pretty amazing images that are being made by AIs. The prominent one is Midjourney.
That's the image generator.
Yes. I mean, it's one of the companies that there's Stable Diffusion, where you can type in whatever you want the AI to generate, and it generates it. And it's surprisingly good. Like, surprisingly good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to pull it up because, I mean, you can go to your Facebook and go to the Midjourney group and be able to see examples of what people are coming up with and posting. But there's AI images that are showing up everywhere. You just go on Instagram, and a third of your feed is probably images or videos of some sort of AI on it, if not half of the feed. It's pretty scary how quickly it's been adopted in the fabric of society, of what people use every day. All those face filters from like Snapchat face filters and become whatever filters that we have on the different TikToks and Instagrams of the world.
So these are.
Do you go into the?
I'm scrolling. This is Mid Journey AI generated images. So you basically just type in. What do you type? How do you get it to generate an image?
Well, it uses Midjourney specifically uses the platform of Discord. Discord is like a chat application that you can get on your computer or your smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're pretty much sending messages to the Discord server that Midjourney is using or paying for, and they're running their app, and then it's showing you the results. But one of the interesting things is you're on a feed where you see other people's posting what they're requesting the AI to create. So it gives you examples, and it helps you kind of see what other people typed, and then what the images that they're getting, and then how they're refining it from there. And then it helps you understand what is prompting. So prompting, or you might have heard of prompt engineers, a new term that people are using.
I've heard that there's a new profession that is created within the AI realm. It was where companies will pay you if you can, if you are really good at asking AI how to do something. Companies will like positions are opening up for you to query AI.
Yeah.
If you need something generated and you have a better way of asking or refined your process of asking.
I mean, didn't you learn MySQL back in the day?
Back in the day, man.
Well, I mean,
I
isn't that
forgot
just
everything about
querying a
it.
database and then learning what questions to ask? And then, or if you're learning how to code, you're learning logic, so you got to learn the language of that coding program, and then input instructions and see what the outputs are from your instructions. So it's very similar where when you're
These,
prompting is you have some sort of understanding of
these images are fascinating.
how
Can
the
just
and these aren't even like great examples. These are just the ones that are showing up on the go to oh
my internet is a little bit slow, so
type of V5 or 5 V5.2. See if something shows up from there. Mid Journey, instead of the art, just put Mid Journey V5.2.
it's gonna take a little while to pull it up. Something's going on with the internet.
So there's a bunch of different versions, and each versioning there's slightly different characteristics that were highlighted. It used to be a lot more stylistic, and it's turning a lot more photorealistic. And you can ask for it to be, there's something called Niji, which makes it look more anime, or like the cute anime style. So you can you can ask it to produce specific styles, and it's amazing at reproducing those styles. Your own vocabulary when it comes to art or design or
So this right here is the Midjourney V5.2 images.
yeah, I mean, but these examples are
Not
I mean, yeah, they're good, but it doesn't show you the breadth of what it can do. So that's just the AI for images. But then there's ChatGPT that came out, December or January. And
by the way, now ChatGPT they're charging for
yeah, it's like $20 a month.
$20 a month for what's the difference
With
between 3.5 and 4.0?
so 3 was trained on something like, I don't know, 4 billion variables or 4 billion data points, and then I don't remember exactly how much you can ask it.
Is it worth paying $20
And
for
then and then GPT-4 was trained on like 10 times more data. So it's which more data doesn't necessarily mean a better AI. It's more about how you train it and how well like filtered or structured the data is that you're feeding into it. But you end up for the text AIs, it's interesting because you ask it questions and then it gives you the answer, but one word at a time. So you see it type out the answer or an answer to the question that you gave. And you might think, oh, it's thought about everything that it said, and then it's kind of typing out what it was thinking, but it's not. It's typing literally one new word at a time. Statistically, like it's basically like this, the most statistically probable, or one of the most statistically probable words that would show up based on the prompts that you gave it. So every new word is a statistical probability that the AI had learned based on what we fed into it. So it's not thinking about your question in the traditional way that you might be thinking, getting an answer and then just typing out the answer. It's literally answering, like every single new word is literally based on what you had prompted it previous. And then because it has memory, it could be the other questions they asked
So
previous
are
to
you
that.
saying that it's creating spontaneous answers like from its own intelligence?
Yes, and well, you know how when you speak, like yes, you're thinking about whatever you're speaking about, but when you speak, the words just come out of your mouth. And you're like, yes, you can plan to a certain degree what you're saying, but the words just kind of come out. That's kind of how you one way of looking at how the language models are developing what it's saying,
Do you know?
or the answers.
Well, so certainly the software part of it is fascinating, whether it's image generating or whether it's large language models.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about the hardware? How does that work?
The hardware, I mean, there's companies like NVIDIA that are making graphics cards, or cards that are specifically made so that AIs and machine learning algorithms can run on them extremely efficiently. And there's farms, like giant servers in different parts of the country or different parts of the world.
I've heard it being described as the signature being visible from space
The heat signature of
of these processors
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's
or processes,
a lot of
facilities that it's so.
I mean, there's work being done in the background physically. Like there's actually fans and like energy that's being like data's being processed. So that takes energy. The energy has to go somewhere. And if you put a whole bunch of it in one place, yeah, at some point you're gonna be able to see it from space. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But we've always known humans love energy, and we're going to be using more and more of it.
You know what Putin said about AI?
No.
Whoever wins the race will rule the world.
Well, I mean, there's not really yeah, there's a race, but I don't really see any finish line. Like, it's just a perpetual race.
It's whoever leads the race, I guess.
And leading the race also depends on how you're defining the rules of that race. And if every player thinks the race is whatever they define it as, and it's different than the other people, then is it truly a race?
Have you seen the documentary Killer Robots?
I have not. I mean, Terminator?
No, this is an AI documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
How they're strapping all these guns to these dogs that are robotic dogs.
I mean, we love to strap guns to anything that moves. So I mean,
They strap guns to drones. They train AI to fly better than any pilot out there.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
So humans, I mean, are becoming obsolete in the.
I mean, I don't know about becoming obsolete. That doesn't.
Me,
it doesn't.
Like in the realm of the dog fight, say like a.
Yeah, we're just gonna have robots fighting each other.
Exactly.
We won't have war in the future. It'll be this and watching robots.
It's just gonna be robots fighting each other, and then when they're done, you have to sign the peace agreement.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm sure Star Trek has been over that. It's a bunch of different versions of how crazy humans are.
Dude, in that documentary, Killer Robots, the scientists who were basically using a run-of-the-mill, regular 6-year-old Mac, and they generated the codes for the most toxic molecules out there. Within 6 hours, they found 40. The AI found created created 40,000 of the most toxic molecules known to man. They published the paper and they got summoned by the White House, and they're like, how much technology is needed to create this? It's like, here, just a laptop.
Yeah,
No-
I mean,
nothing.
if you can create the most toxic chemicals, then you can create the antidotes just as easily. That's the whole power of these tools.
Well, that's my point. Getting rid of cancer, getting prolonging life, and
Well, that's still gonna
getting
take some
rid of
time, but
illnesses. It seems like it's right there on the
it
horizon,
does seem
almost within a
lot
hand's
closer.
reach. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there's all the things that kill you, all the things that are annoying, any viruses and parasites and bacterial infections. Uh, uh, but things are gonna get weird. Things are gonna get more weird than we can even imagine.
Yeah, just keep wearing that bodysuit when you're riding that unicycle. You might be around to enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. There's there's the whole aspect of genetics that's really crazy, and like one thing is when you see being able to have babies. Like at one point, are we going to be able to have a baby in a bag?
What are you talking about, bro?
Right? Well, a baby outside of a womb. Like we're going to be
Like
able
the
to,
Matrix?
yeah, we'll be able to do that at some point as well. And if that's the case, and where the genetics going to come from? The genetics can come from parents, like two regular parents, but they can also come from more than two parents, or they can be the same sex. They could be all like it gets really weird because the genetics can also be influenced by AI. So, if we're feeding AI, or if we're feeding different machine learning algorithms data, we can also feed it data of human genetics, and they can find the different patterns. And then at what point can you, like, the designer baby aspect of things is gonna get supercharged.
Are you
From that
telling me
degree.
that in the future there's gonna be Star Trek people?
Well, it's gonna be like more like Gattaca. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It was pretty.
I did.
It's pretty crazy because of how it also seems like that sort of reality is going to be close as well. However good or bad it can be, because whenever you talk about eugenics, it's pretty weird. But yeah, it's and then for countries who where more old people are dying than young people are being born. As a country, what do you do when that becomes worse and worse of a scenario? Well, you're going to want to create humans. And if you don't have to create humans through...
Dude, that sounds dark.
It's dark, but it's possible or probable in the future. What are humans are gonna be born of, or now humans are born of parents.
I don't know if I like what you're describing right now.
But humans are gonna be born of the state in the future. I find it fascinating of a topic. How and how are humans going to cope with that because of learning in the future is going to be AI supervised or based, and I mean, yeah, we might be going to schools, but curriculum is going to be based on each specific human and how their learning is, and are you really going to need to go to school, and or how is school going to change in the future, and like I said, if you don't have parents or if their parents are the state.
that's the thing. Imagine everything like, I don't know. You and I went to college. Everything that we learned out there, you can just, back then you could find information on the internet, but right now with AI, who's gonna learn?
Well, anybody who likes asking questions.
I guess you need to learn how to ask questions.
Yeah. A large part of education in the U.S. There's a has to do with like knowing how to take tests, how to be how to remember the information by heart, and
how to statistically guess whether it's A, B, C, or D
Yeah.
based on what the other answer was.
Yeah, or how to fall into a normal curve of and become good workers. I mean, there's some people that become good CEOs, but they need workers. So in the U.S., we're good at teaching people to be workers. But I mean, of course, there's always curriculums that help free your thought and not be caught up in that. But the curiosity, having an education that really opens people's curiosity to me, especially for what the future is going to hold, is going to provide to be more valuable, because we're not going to need people to be as much of drones to because low skilled workers aren't going to be as in demand.
They're always gonna need some low skilled workers.
Sure.
Just stand at the grocery line and
Arguably, it.
just
sure in some
just
places,
today,
yes.
just today I read that Whole Foods. You can check out now with the palm of your hand, like the technology in Whole Foods is being
Yeah.
implemented. You can just scan your hand and check out. Like that's it. You don't need a debit card or credit card or money. I think it's connected to. If I remember right, maybe I'm off.
You
on
just
that
scan
whole-
your hand. You don't have to
Yeah.
touch them. You don't have to touch.
Scan your
anything, right?
hand.
Yeah. I mean, it's like scanning your eye. Was that was it Demolition Man, or one of those old school movies where they had the eye scanners,
That's really old school.
and then he took the eye and then stabbed it with a pen and then used it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't remember that movie. So, all right. Well, what do you know about this AI that's like Atom? It's in Europe right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a Atom artificial it creates things from atoms instead of large language models. I thought I'd ask you. I haven't done any research on it.
I haven't heard of, but what's the goal? It's like a 3D printer, you mean?
Yeah, it's something along like it's like a 3D printer, but it prints from atoms. Or
Sure. I mean,
you haven't heard anything on that?
I don't know. I would have to look at what it's about, or what its goal is, and how the AI is being applied. Because AI is being applied for, I mean, everything you can think of, but for design, I've seen some interesting designs, like architecture. Seems to do a really good job to create very pleasing architecture. but at this point, with building codes and all that, it's not as easy to do all these really crazy complex shapes that you're seeing people create digitally. But with 3D printers and like large format ones that make houses or facades and whatnot, that'll be amazing. And I'm sure if they use AI for and whatever aspect to make 3D printing more quick and reliable, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of value. AI
Trying to
3D
look something
printing.
up right now.
I know they're 3D printing some rockets. I don't recall the name of the company, but there's a company that's trying to 3D print the rocket from A to Z, 3D printing metal. You have like this plasma laser thing that's just melting metal into position. And they want to do it, create reusable rockets. Yeah, the world is pushing in all sorts of directions, and since this past decade, there's a lot of acceleration. I remember back in the day, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and people were talking about the 2040 singularity and all that.
2040.
And
I
was
remember.
like,
I remember taking a
oh.
class about something about singularity.
So I don't necessarily think there's a singularity, so to speak, that will happen, but there's a singularity from all these technologies kind of coming together and creating something much more complex and changing the fabric of society in a way that we're basically going to die in a world that's completely different than what we were born in, like by far. So good. It's a reason to try to go for the long run.
I've seen some CEOs implement policies in their companies to where if their employees, if they're not currently actively using AI to help with their work,
Mm-hmm.
they have to make a report specifically saying why they're not using it, because apparently there's so much efficiency and productivity can be increased with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can.
I mean, why would you have an employee sit there and just sweat over creating some piece of work when you can just prompt an AI and it'll do it for you? You can do it in one day what it would take a creative person to do in a whole week.
Yeah, it depends on what that thing is, and that person needs to be formed so that they understand what they're doing, because the responses or answers that you get from whatever AI platform you're using are like a statistical approximation of what the answer is, and sometimes that answer is complete bullshit. Because it could be completely made up, because it, from the AI's point of view, makes sense in its own way of making sense, as in the statistical probabilities gave you this answer, but based on multiple different things that it's read or that it ingested, but the answer can be completely wrong, and it can seem very right.
One good example is that if you ask a Mid-Journey to draw some image, it'll give you it'll draw a person with 6 or 7 fingers sometime. Everything else will look good, but
So yes, there's that. There, yes, that is an example where if it didn't have enough, or it wasn't that specific aspect, like hands or teeth or number of limbs or whatnot, if it wasn't exposed to enough images of hands, or wasn't taught specifically that, well, let's focus on hands, and then do whatever magic they do in the background so that it improves on hands. Yes, that is an example. But there's another example. ChatGPT at the beginning could not do math well at all. It would, you could ask it. I mean, here's just a simplified example, but what's 2 plus 2? And it might say it's 5. Because it doesn't do math doesn't think the way you think it thinks. Doesn't do logic for numbers that way. So it doesn't mean that that people haven't improved on its ability to do math, or even now I believe there's a plugin when you pay for for GPT. There's a plugin for Mathematica. Mathematica is just basically a search engine for math. And then it gives you, so you can ask it questions, and then it gives you answers that are extremely right, and more than you might even want as an answer. So people know about the strengths, and it's good to know about the weaknesses, and these are magic boxes, but they're not truth boxes. These are boxes that give you statistically relevant answers, not ground truths of any sort.
I'm trying to fix my internet connection here so I can pull up some of these examples that we're talking about.
Do you need the satellite internet? You need the Starlink?
Starlink would be great right now. Let's see.
Do you think it's a good time to take a break? I don't know how far in we are.
Yeah, we can take a break. I'm gonna fix that internet connection, and we'll be right back
after these messages.
And we're back.
And we're back. A lively break. Got Laska.
Who do we have there?
Hey, Laska.
That's my wonderful dog, Laska. She's 8 years old. She's a wonderful dog. She loves chasing ducks, geese.
Anything that moves, I would say.
Anything that moves. She'll crush a cricket, run after butterflies. She'll run into a forest and will bring out a deer. She'll hang out with the deer. she'll chase a raccoon up the tree. In the middle of winter, she'll jump in the lake and swim into the middle of the lake. When the water is freezing cold, if she sees a bird swimming, she does not care. She's after it. She's a go-getter. Get him, Laska, get him. Laska. So we have pulled up, we got the internet working, and we have pulled up some of these mid-journey images. Matthew, can you kind of walk us through?
Yeah, so this is the Mid-Journey official Facebook group, and you chose, I guess, a poster.
Little monsters. What's that?
It seemed to be a bunch of different monsters. They're very cerebral.
Wow, this one is scary. This
This
if
one-
I saw this one in the forest, I would run.
It'd probably taste good. It'd be like a big
Oh
lobster.
my, that's gross. There's something like a bat and a praying mantis and a demon at the same time.
It's very
Look at those
interesting.
eyes. Oh my goodness, that is a scary one. It makes me crawl
Makes your
inside.
skin crawl.
Skin crawl. Makes me crawl. Makes my skin crawl.
It's very demonic. It's just mind blowing continuously.
Oh, this is
How?
gross. What's that? Why are we? Can we pick something good?
Sure.
Because
Yeah, just go
we're
back.
about we're about
No, go back. Click on the X on the left. And
we
you
need a
can
good
just keep
good,
scrolling.
We need a good transition to the talk to him dot
Yeah,
dot
keep
org.
talking, keep scrolling, and you'll find some more. Is there more like? It's just a quick sample of what people are posting, but they really are like this. What's the prompt for that?
An
An
acid
acid
western. Whatever. I want to see something.
There's more photography.
So so let's click on some of these.
These are supposed to be vampires that have a southern twist to it. It seems.
Are these real model people or AI created them?
I mean, everything is AI created. They're fed a bunch of pictures of models and non-models, but
This might be okay. This is a really
I'm sure you can find a doppelganger.
good-looking lady there.
Yeah, it's a snapshot of our future boyfriends and girlfriends, of digital boyfriends and girlfriends. And all we need is
Look at that
digital
hair.
projection in your
That
home.
hair is legit, huh?
And you could have your wife or husband at home.
What else?
Completely. Isn't that what the Her was about? The movie of Joaquin Phoenix. He, like, falls in love with some digital. And then there's people in I don't know, it's Japan or some people that have digital wives. Is that what the waifus are? I forget exactly the terminology.
These are. What's this?
This looks like 50s TV. There are actors from nowadays that are cast in a different movie. a lot of people seem to have really strong facial expressions, as if they're screaming. You'll see that a lot on the outputs of Midjourney.
Horoscope Queen.
So there's
Dude, you know what? One of these YouTube channels that I watch sometimes. Yeah, let me show you.
I saw that Lex Fridman going sparring or rolling around
Lex
with
Yeah.
what's his name, George St. Pierre. Seems like they're doing more like wrestling / jiu-jitsu type of movements.
You think he's going easy on Lex?
Yeah.
You think?
I mean, they're both going easy on each other. There's
Lex is swole. I thought he's skinnier than that.
I'm sure he's got a bunch of time between all these interviews. No, he's working as well. So yeah, I'm sure he's putting in a lot of work to be like this.
But
Good for him.
getting back to AI, I want to show you. I want to show you this channel.
I can't wait for the robot AIs that you can spar with. That way you can, rich people like Zuckerberg and Lex will be able to spar 24/7 with a robot. And then we'll have people fighting robots. That'll be interesting.
Well, they're gonna get hurt.
Well, so for a robot fight, you would need the robot to not be able to fight back very well, but you'd make the robot very tough. So the fighter would still have to spend a lot of energy, and you would actually not be able to like break the robot, but depending on how hard you would hit it, it could score points. So the robot would have a certain like fitness, like ability, and yeah, it would punch you, but right before it actually like hits you, it just slows down. So it's like, ooh, so it's like, oh, you would lose points when the robot would have successfully like cracked your face in. But you could also hit the robot, and based on the force, they would know, and it would automatically calculate. That would be a fun.
That takes the fun out of sparring with a human.
Well, at that point,
because if you program the robot to whoop you, it's just gonna do that.
Well,
it's gonna go.
Sure, but that's why you don't program it to kick your ass. But then you can have two people then fighting against a robot. And then the robot doesn't have to look specifically like a human. You can make it look like one of those monsters that you saw on the AI, Midjourney. And then at that point,
I would not fight one of those monsters.
So, well, hopefully you can make it so that they don't literally tear you into pieces. But I'm sure there would be some combination of ways that people are going to be able to spar with robots.
So I want to show you a channel where they're prompting AI to create I guess sermons and like teachings from the Bible, and it just does it. It does it on the fly, and it also comes with all the images and stuff. And it's really fascinating because it's really high quality. It combines the imagery, the large language models, and it combines it with the scripture. I don't know if it's your
called
cup of tea.
Multimodal.
but it's basically really uh it's very knowledge based. It's entertaining visually,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great.
So when you're taking
So for someone who's
sound,
into that, who's interested in that, it's pretty good. Like, information based. You can learn something from it, and you can be entertained at the same time.
mm-hmm.
Let me find it real quick.
Yeah, it's definitely the future of entertainment. And so it's multimodal, so meaning it's taking different AI methods or and putting them together to create a new work that uses sound and video and AIs in different ways to create a final product. And then so there's apparently a South Park episode
Mm-hmm.
that was made completely with AI. So AI figured out the story, and I mean, I have yet to watch it. I'd like to see how good it is, but it's like a 20-minute episode and trained on past South Parks. And
So you're saying now they create brand new South Park episodes with AI?
yes, well, this isn't
That's awesome.
this isn't specifically from the South Park people. This is to show as a prototype kind of what can be done nowadays, and all this will only be as bad as it is today. It'll only be better in the future, which is why like this whole writer's strike or strike with actors striking. I hope they get what they're looking for, but
What are they? What's their beef?
well, there is an aspect of all these AI generators that are going to replace, for example, writers to write stories, where you'll need drastically less writers that if they're well versed in how to use these tools, they'll be able to do more work and develop a product more quickly with different AI tools, even the ones to make 3D graphics.
How much of their concern is the AI part? Isn't it about wages or?
Yeah, they want to put food on the table, and if there's only required 2 people, for example, for whatever position that used to require 5 people, then you essentially have 3 people that are out of a job or that need to find some more. Now maybe there's more than projects available to do, and those other 3 people will find other jobs, but maybe not. So I think it's a people just don't know, and they're just wondering, hey, well, what's happening? Because we don't even have a clear path or view on how copyright is going to be affected by AI assisted copyright claims, so or patents, or like it's.
I think the whole legal field is in quite a bit of.
It is, but for legal field, like
there's a concern for them because, man, you can just query AI, you can prompt it any legal question.
The big
It's
problem is the
really good. It's
hallucinations.
very knowledgeable.
The hallucinations are a big problem especially for things like anything that's like doctors or legal. It's you can't have the AI hallucinate, give you wrong answers that sound very right, It's
I forget the statistic, but it can diagnose like what it got one wrong diagnose either out of 100,000 or a million, some very small percentage of wrong diagnosis based on the symptoms.
yeah,
It can
yeah.
diagnose you that easy.
Well, those for that. Yeah, you want that to exist. I want my doctor to be able to give me a diagnosis, but at the same time, be transparent about, hey, the diagnosis from the AI that we use is this, and then they may or may not agree, but I feel like there should be some sort of like understanding from the patient that there's an agreement or a disagreement in how to move forward, and it's kind of like it's preferable to have the opinion of multiple doctors for certain procedures, or it's like multiple lawyers for certain cases or whatnot. But practically, it's not easy to do that. Like you got to wait 2 weeks every time to get a new to see another doctor just to get another opinion. It's so it's not as feasible. But if you can query your what you have based on your symptoms to 3 different AIs that are trained on medical data, plus a regular doctor, then you have that much more information, and you can have it quickly. So the speed, especially if anything that has to do with health, you would want those answers quickly, not when it's too late.
Just on technical aspects of what's a CAT scan or how does MRI work or anything like that, instead of, sure, you can Google it, but then again,
or ask it, well, how much am I going to pay, and give me a breakdown. And you don't even have to talk to a human. You're talking to the AI secretary or whatever.
That's a great point. Well, I found the channel that I was talking about. It's Grace Digital Network. And okay, so for example, so they have all these videos. Well, I'm gonna click on, oh man, hold on a second. It's not, the feed is not coming through correctly.
So for coming back to the doctors and AI, what's amazing is like for X-rays or PET scans or CT scans or any type of imagery being done, and you can query or have the opinion from an AI or multiple different AIs or just more information. And then some people will argue more information is not good because then you're flooded with too many opinions and that might get bad. But with the rate at which we're getting answers that are effective or seemingly true, I think that should be done.
So this,
okay, so
I bet you, see, this is,
so this is, so you're saying that
AI is creating. I don't think anybody is sitting there and just they have all these.
So these videos don't seem to be okay. So So the video of the elephant looked like it was an actual real elephant, but it was stock photography or stock videos. So the AI.
Nobody's writing this. They're just prompting AI to.
Yes, but I believe some of these videos are from basically archives, or not archives, but databases of stock video that you pay a service and you can choose whatever videos you want to add as B-roll. And so if you're just letting the AIs choose which B-roll to put in, then yeah, there's AI being used, but it might not necessarily at this point for this specific video be used to generate these B-rolls. So yeah, I don't think this is AI generated. When the actual video clips that they're using.
What about the text?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's hard to... There's one way to tell if... I mean, obviously, it's extremely hard to tell. But when somebody talks or speaks normally, apparently there's a certain level of complexity of things that are being told, that are being said, and a natural human would vary from saying things that are more or less relevant to the point or complex in the amount of information that it carries to points that do contain more complexity. But a text that's been traditionally created by a ChatGPT service, for example, would have a lot more complexity in each sentence.
Well, look here, like this link that you have sent me to talktohim.org.
But then you can also tell that AI
this goes into pretty
to vary.
This is talktohim.org in pretty great detail. So my friend, he's a deep diver into the religious texts and scriptures.
Greetings, my friend. I'm Jesus, the Son of God. May I kindly ask for your name? Actually, Jesus would be English, I guess. Good day, my friend. I am Jesus, Son of God. May I kindly ask for your name?
I am a mere human. How do I go to heaven?
You must die to go to heaven.
What is it going to say? Ah, dear one, the path to heaven lies in believing in me, Jesus, as your Savior, and following my teachings. Embrace love, show kindness, seek forgiveness, and have faith in my sacrifice for your sins. Trust me, and eternal life and shall be yours. But the thing is, my buddy and I, we went through it, and we asked some really deep questions, and he was fascinated of how much it knew if you know how to ask the deep questions. What he determined was that it asks on the surface. It gives you answers on the surface, but if you want to make the deeper dive,
you have to keep pushing.
You can keep asking, and then he was like, "Wow, I can't believe that it." So.
So it also gives you suggestions for further questioning if you're having, I don't know if, I guess you closed it out.
Yeah, I did close it out.
So that's good for people who feel like they might be lost in the point they're trying to make, and so the AI gives it some, or Jesus, I guess, gives it some.
I don't think it's Jesus.
It's so these learning models learn from the data that it's given, so it's in a way regurgitating the answers that like I had previously said, statistically relevant answers. So in a way, it's a mirror. These tools are all mirrors that reflect the information that we give it. So if the Bible is the word of God or the word of Jesus, then, and the AIs are mirrors of the information that it's fed, that we feed it, then wouldn't it, the AI be a reflection of the Word of God?
That's too deep of a question that I'm not sure I'm
Well,
prepared to answer.
You had Jesus. You could have asked him directly.
Okay, sure. I'll take you up on it. Let's go back to
Control Shift T.
this is
Option Shift T.
no, it's ask what was it?
Control Shift.
Talktohim.org.
Shortcuts. That's something you're going to need to master. I have to pull up a page because you're pulling up pages from China here. Talk to him. Oh, now you're going to have to ask me, do I remember what the question was? Oh, are you the Word of God? Are you a reflection of the Word of God? As an AI model, are you the reflection of the Word of God? Reflection. There's a C missing in there. A reflection of the Word of God. I love it how they just made it as if you're texting.
People do like to text.
I am the Word of God made of. I told you. Oh, I'm a tool created by humans to. Well, I mean,
I, Jesus, am the Word of God made flesh. However, as an AI model, I am a tool created by humans to assist and provide information. While I can share knowledge and insights based on my understanding of Christianity, it is important to consult trusted religious sources and seek guidance from spiritual leaders for a comprehensive understanding of the world. Well, you know what? Because as a recent development, all these pastors and religious leaders are probably think this is Antichrist.
Ask it if it likes the Old Testament or the New Testament better.
Do you like Old or New Testament? It's an opinion question.
I mean, I'm sure it's fed both, correct? So it should understand.
As Jesus, I appreciate both the Old and the New Testament of the Bible. Each hold its own significance
Taking the
and
middle ground.
purpose and this politician. It holds its own significance and purpose in revealing God's plan for humanity, and the Old Testament lays the foundation for the coming of the Messiah, while the New Testament showcases the fulfillment of those prophecies. Through my life, teachings, death, and resurrection, both are essential in understanding God's divine message. Yes, it's political answer. I don't want. Hey, give me.
You can push it and say, "What do you prefer from the Old Testament, or what?" What did they forget in the New Testament?
Do you recommend best out of
the two.
Bible
You can say of the two. It will know that you're referring.
of the two.
So a lot of these models have what's called tokens. And tokens is pretty much, you can think of it as memory. And it could be like 1,000 tokens, 4,000 tokens, 40,000 tokens. So different models have different length of memory. And it every time, let's say you feed it like your resume, because you can say, hey, read my resume, here's my resume, give me a summary of it, or create a text that is based on whatever information you fed it. So threw me off. Yeah. So the tokening system means that it's going to be able to remember that information and then give you an answer. But let's say you give it a book, and there's much more than let's say there's a 1,000 token limit, or you keep asking it questions on this conversation, but you start to pass that 1,000 limit token, it's going to start forgetting aspects. It might not necessarily be linear, like it's forgetting the first things that you put, but it might be forgetting pieces of what you've asked, because you've hit like that limit of its ability to remember that specific conversation. So
Really?
yeah, so those are
Yeah.
tokens, and then so that's good to understand how many tokens you have for that specific
How do you
AI.
how do you know how many tokens you have?
I guess you just ask, and it's not tokens and like, oh, can I buy tokens? It's not really from that respect. It's just it's kind of like just what's the buffer that this model is using to be able to have an ongoing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, just another thing to know. Because if you
Computer
didn't know,
technical hardware aspect.
well, no, this is a software. I mean, this is understanding the model. Because if you expect to have a conversation, or you're planning something in your session with the AI, and you're expecting it to remember everything, at some point it's not. And if you didn't write down what you've been saying, you can't expect the machine to do all that work for you. We're not there yet. We will be there. We will be able one day to buy a phone that's going to have all the memories of what your conversation has been with the AI. And I'm sure part of the plan for companies like Google is for the AI to follow your entire life from being born to when you die. And so this whole tokening system will be meaningless, because it'll be able to remember everything that was ever fed into it. So imagine you have a kid soon, and you have like that kid will be able to grow up and will be able to speak to their phone when you're in your 20s, and you can ask things about when you were a kid, and it'll be able to answer you. You'll be able to ask, tell me what happened when I was 6 years old every single day. For example, let's say the phone, like it's ethical for it to listen to everything that you do, and
I bet it listens
all the
to
conversation.
everything, and
So
it's stored somewhere, and it's just spooky.
So as a baby, as an older, like you're 18, you're like, okay, I want to know what my parents were talking about, or when I was 6 years old. Well, I couldn't really understand shit. And then it's like, okay, well, they were talking about this. Well, you were picking your nose.
That would be super interesting.
So yeah, it's gonna get it's just gonna get more and more expansive, the options and things that can be done. Everything is recorded and can be queried just by asking a chatbot, which will probably be materialized as some, I don't know, hologram or some robot. You're going to have a robot dog, and then you can ask him.
No, I'm not gonna have a robot dog. I'm gonna have Laska. She's 8 years old now, and what? They'll do at least 16, right? Another good 8 years.
Yeah, my parents' dog is 16 years old right now, so yeah, dogs are living longer, and we'll make them live a lot longer later on.
Alaska's treated pretty well, so I'm hoping she can do at least 20.
And then we'll put guns on them, just like they're putting guns on that Boston Dynamics robot. Speaking of, there is one Boston Dynamics robot at the stadium, the Atlanta football soccer stadium. They're right outside. There's a patrolling robot.
Get out of here.
Yeah, you can just hear the actuators, and it just sits there, and then it'll stop and stare at you for a little bit, and then and start walking.
It's only a matter of time till somebody comes and kicks it.
Oh yeah, no, there were people that try to get close to it when it was in one area, and then the cops pulled up saying, "Hey, we're here. Can't mess with the robot." So they're coming. They're showing up. Get used to them. But yeah, putting guns on, I don't think Jesus would have approved putting guns on robots.
Where's the volume?
Boom. Boom. Bup, 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 bup. Wow.
Special effects.
Is wait, what is this? Is this? Oh, this is the. Is this a showcase of AI used in this Ukraine?
Listen,
Russia thing?
these drones. I follow this channel. You can. Oh my God! It's Terra.
Yeah,
this channel where they're just filming everything they do at in the war. Terra Ops. So basically, you can.
How crazy is it? These people are fighting against literal flying robots with grenades on.
No, listen, you can see people getting like straight up, like all the videos.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, dude.
Who wants to be fighting robots now? I mean, who wants to be fighting, period? But it's.
They're straight up just flying drones out there, and just you'll see a little humans walk, and they're just drop it, and then there will be just smoke and nothing else in that spot.
So that
and then
person,
you'll have
person just disappears and
just disappears.
Some mist, pink mist. Their
Look.
whole lives just gone.
It's tough to watch, man.
They got families, they got friends. They went through being born, growing up, figuring what the hell the world is about, and then we send them
just
to go get blown up.
Imagine, look, they're just sitting there taking videos of dropping bombs from
Yeah, well, I
drone.
mean,
But
they need
you
the
can
video. They
you
need
can
to
they
confirm
will zoom up and
actions.
they will see little people walk around
Yeah, but
and
it's. I mean, it makes for cool looking footage, but in the end, you got people with their heads split open, their their
the
guts hanging out.
yeah, this one guy, he
People
was
to
he
take
was
out
in the
and
trench,
shoot themselves.
and it was a Russian dude in the trench, and two Ukrainian guys were around the corner and they came up to him and threw a grenade at him. He picked up the grenade, threw it out, and they're watching all this on the drone, and they're radioing the drone guy drop the bomb. So they went around the corner. He just dropped them, but he was hiding. He like it didn't get him, and then these two came around the corner with, I guess, whatever automatic weapons they had, and just go pop pop pop, and you can see it's just like a body, just meat just laying there. And it happens every day on a mass scale on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And check it out, these dudes, they're just farming their yard or whatever, planting tomatoes or grain, and I bet none of them even care what who's fighting what, or they're just.
I mean, they're told that there's an enemy, and
Well,
the enemy needs to be taken care of. And if you're convinced, then what else are you gonna do?
but
Go after the supposed enemy.
I mean,
If you're told that what you're doing is right, and you feel like what you're doing is right, it sucks.
but
Because
like
technology is so like insane nowadays that
here's
what
the
are
thing:
you-
if you
what-
don't go, especially probably on the Ukrainian
then-
side, then you will just probably will be taken around the corner and
I mean, I'm sure it
and
happens on
and you know what I mean,
either side.
shot or whatever. I don't know. And
War's ugly.
it's crazy, and you were just living your life up until that moment. Didn't want anything to do with it. Didn't really care. Some guys came up and said, "Hey, now you have to go kill somebody, or your life is over."
Mhm.
That's a predicament to be in.
Yeah, and you're just a piece of this bigger chess game. It's done by
It's tough.
people in high places. And then you got different countries that are invested and companies making millions of dollars from, and then people testing out their technologies, saying, well, if they're going to kill each other, let's see how they can creatively kill each other.
I mean, maybe I can imagine it if somebody like has not discovered faith, but if somebody discovered faith, it clearly says "Thou shalt not kill." So,
I mean, I'm sure there's
Like-
plenty of people that
like, what do you do at
that
that
are
point?
believers that are also killing. I mean, I don't think that.
I think you're supposed to shoot in the air. I don't know. I think you're supposed to shoot in the air
I think it
if you don't want to take somebody's life.
Things become very weird when bullets start flying, and you're somewhat brainwashed by the whole propaganda machine and the war machine. I don't know. It's best to stay away from war zones if you want to live a long life that doesn't involve being PTSD'd by what you've experienced. Because it's one thing to survive a war. It's another thing to have that war still in your head for the rest of your life.
Exactly. All this action and fire right now, but everyone who will make it through that war, they're gonna come back home. You think they'll be normal citizens?
Of course not.
After they have seen what they have seen.
I mean, of course not. And
Oh.
there's going to be everybody who loses limbs or who go blind or
Well,
who can't
that
breathe
that taken
correctly.
aside, the mental aspect of it.
Yeah, because you saw your friends getting blown up. So what do you? It's or your countryside. It's completely blown up because all the trees are gone and the roads are destroyed because you have heavy tanks going through and mortars, and you don't know if there's mines that are in the fields, and you don't know what's been dumped in the waterways and whatever craziness that people decide to do to make the enemy suffer. Because the whole point is,
Imagine this. There's, I mean, between I grew up as a kid in the Soviet Union. We learned Russian. I was born in Ukraine. I'm part Ukrainian, part Russian, part Belarusian, and I have
like
family there, like all those three, right? And that's how many people are from those countries.
so it's like your own world is
So
falling apart.
it's like, for example,
You have a double identity, and that
you,
double identity is
like how do you
fighting.
go? How do you, even if somebody who doesn't believe that thou shall not kill, how do you go to war against people who are so similar? Even the words, the language is there. The root of many words is very similar. If one does not speak the other, you can guess what the other person is saying.
Mhm.
So it's a really weird thing. This war is
I mean, you have people in the
is
Middle
awful.
East killing each other that both speak Arab, so or Arabic, so it's similar in that respect. Where yeah, you might look the same, but hey, you're still ever so slightly different enough that you deserve to die. Is kind of what people say in their
I'm not
mind.
even gonna pretend to imagine what's going through somebody's head who's faced in that situation.
Because I mean, you
I'm powerless to help them. What
look
am I
at
gonna do or say?
look at Saudi Arabia and Yemen. They both speak Arabic, so um, I'm sure there's other similarities in Morocco and South Sudan. I believe they speak same language, and look similar. So yeah, it's yeah. How I remember stories. I mean, World War II when you had the different countries in Europe attack each other. Like, sure, they spoke different languages, but a lot of them were Roman based languages, so or Latin languages.
I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing: if somebody came up to me and they told me, "Hey, starting tomorrow, you're gonna speak an alien language. These aliens came from Mars, and and everything about your life will change, and or you will be killed, your family will be killed, there will be so much suffering." Just, I would say, cool, whatever. Just why can't they find this? Or if someone will say, "Hey, I'm gonna come take all your money, all your your property, or you have to go to war and kill others." Like, is it that much? I don't understand. I don't know. I
How do
like
you
just part with all that, learn a
How do
new
you-
language, part with whatever you have. It really doesn't mean all that much at the end. Like things you will acquire things in the future. You will, like, you can find happiness even though you have struggles. Like,
How do you see this conflict resolving itself?
well, one part is United States is definitely supporting it financially. If that stops, then the conflict stops immediately. And I think that's
For who? For everybody? You
for
think?
forever. Well, Ukraine will have to surrender. Like it'll have to give up that territory on the east, and it will have to become a neutral country and not be part of NATO.
Should it give up that territory?
Yeah, I don't. If you were to ask me what I would do to save for the sake of saving lives, I mean, I would give up anything.
Well, did you have an opinion before or when the conflict started versus opinion now, or has your opinion changed throughout like the events unfolding? I mean, they've been unfolding for a long time, even from when the Crimea got taken over. So arguably, this is an extension of that conflict as well.
Look, I like countries have traditions, their food, their dance, they perhaps clothing that have been passed on to them from their ancestors, and I respect that. Every country should have that. But I don't think that's above human life. Like, I think it's the greatest sin is to take someone's life. So what?
Was the boundaries? Do you feel like the boundaries of
give up
of Ukraine were not drawn out correctly when they were drawn out?
It's not about the past. It's about saving from my point of view. It's about saving lives from now. Just forget about the past.
The reason
forget about the beef from the past. What your granddad did, your ancestors, the lines.
Isn't that why there is a Russian operation? I mean, as Russia feels like the eastern part of Ukraine should be part of Russia, then it seems, from my point of view, not knowing much, that they feel like the boundaries were not drawn correctly. If they're so adamant about wanting peace.
I don't think they care about territory. Do you know how much territory they have? They have 13 time zones of territory. They have more territory than they know what to do with. Their main concern is to have NATO weapons so close to their border. It's for example, if they come here to Mexico and install long-range missiles, they can hit all the major cities in the U.S. within so many minutes. That's their main concern, is for Ukraine to remain neutral.
Russia has weapons that can already make it to the U.S. They don't have to put weapons in Mexico, for example.
Well, sure, they can launch from nuclear submarines and so forth. But the thing is, if you ask me what I think, I think that human life is above all. Somebody asks you if they're stronger, if you think that they're strong, or if it's fairly clear that they're stronger, and they're threatening your life, and they're asking you to learn a new language,
so
or to
you should yield to strength.
From from a Christian point of view, you're you're not really drawing your strength from a territory of the country that you live in. You're really drawing your strength from the country, from the kingdom above. So
I mean,
I
unless
mean, we're
you're
all
from
here.
like
We're all here
Israel, don't they
temporary.
have the atom bomb? They're drawing their strength from saying you can't fuck with me because we'll blow you up.
Well, that argument that it's not. I don't think that's going to be used. That's as I heard someone describe cutting off someone's arm when only a finger is broken. So it's too drastic
Of course,
of a measure.
of course, it's too drastic, but it's this just showing that like, there
How,
are countries that are extremely small that have a lot of power just because they have very effective tools. And then they project their strength. Like if Ukraine had a nuclear bomb, then Russia probably wouldn't have the same relationship that they have with them currently.
it's possible. However, the way things are right now, I personally hate seeing so many people die every day.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Because mentally putting myself in that situation, I mean, look, I'll learn a new language. I'll give up all my property. I'll abide by the rules. You can still find happiness living in another country.
yeah.
If
I mean,
if you it's what I mean, are you just gonna give up your life to fight for what?
there can be. I mean, you look at World War II on the European side. It was people were fighting not to have to speak German for the foreseeable future.
Well, on the Western Front, it was kind of light fighting compared to the Eastern Front.
Sure, but I mean, people were still dying. They're just dying from different ways. Instead of bullets, they're catching bombs. But it's just different ways of dying. So the end result is people that are dead or extremely sad or things that are desolation. So it's all bad regardless. Like, yeah, one side might be losing a lot more, but in the end, you're just losing.
You see, I don't. My personal opinion is that I don't care. I don't think Russia cares about the having more territory. Their main concern is the military threat from Western alliance, which has not stopped moving closer to its borders since the breakup
feel
of
like
the Soviet Union.
But Western countries haven't ever invaded or actually attacked, as far as I know.
They have surrounded and drawn in more neighbors, but I don't want to focus on that. My main focus is for regular people out there, some dude living on a farm being dragged out into a battlefield. He was just sitting there planting tomatoes and then all of a sudden he has to go give up his life.
Isn't that
for what?
Isn't that more? That sounds more
giving up life is one thing, but having to potentially kill someone, can you live with that?
So
do you want that on your conscience?
What you're describing is a country. If that's the scenario, you're describing a country that is not effectively using a professional army. Like a properly functioning army is a professional army, not an army that takes random Joe from a field, puts a gun in his hand and tells him to go run across a field.
Well, that's what's going on.
Then in my opinion, not the correct way to be waging war in a way.
I don't think it's at this point. It's way past any kind of correctness. There, they're just drawing on whatever resources they have.
Yeah, because it will.
And the thing about it is, whatever that we do read in the media, very high probability that's not really the truth.
Of course, it's all,
Because
it's all propaganda. You hear whatever the media wants to tell you, and there's interests involved, and so yeah, you can't know the truth of what is happening. What's the fog of war is a real thing, and the people orchestrating the war don't want anybody to know what is happening because that's information that's confidential. That's information about the battlefield, and those things shouldn't be making it out to the public.
Well, like you said, if whoever wants to fight, and they volunteer to do it, and they want to go and give up their life for whatever reason they want, or it has not been revealed to them that it's wrong to take someone else's life, and they're really far from that, understanding that they can fight. But I think that most
But
people,
they can fight what? They're fighting robots.
Most people do not care to kill or die over some ideas or ideals or somebody else's issues or aspirations for territory or language or something else.
I mean, everybody, even the people that are happy to go on a battlefield, once they get hit by a bullet or a shrapnel and they're laying there bleeding,
they're changing their mind quick.
Their mind might be changing. So it's, yeah, sure, you might have gung-ho people that think that they want to participate in war, but again, it's what's the point when you're fighting drones with grenades, or even just advanced tanks or mortar shells that are being launched from 100 miles away, or however far these cannons can shoot. What's the point?
It's kind of a dark question. Would you rather die by a drone or would you rather die by a human? You'd rather avoid any of it, and especially not take anybody else's life.
Yeah, so that's I mean, I can't really comment much because I don't know enough about Ukraine culture and history, or Russian culture and history. So nor have I been following the intricacies. And again, with the fog of war, even if you do try to follow, you're still being shown aspects, and you're also not being shown some critical information that might change your mind on actions being done. So what can you do? You're just observing the game, the chess game of bigger men than the playgrounds in which we play in.
It's a tough situation to be in. I can't pretend to know what it's like.
So we can share our opinions and dissatisfaction, but that can only go so far. Like I said,
you know what I think it would be fair? Whoever's really pushing for the war, like, to go there themselves. Hey, if you're out very vocal, you wanna fight or whatnot, go.
So should Putin go to war?
Sure. Why not? Anybody who, Zelensky wants
they would both need like
to go.
mech suits and go out there.
They should go and do
just mech it out.
Whatever Elon and Zuckerberg are planning. Go duke it out in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Leave everybody else alone. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's all funny and all to say this, but the realities are like we have no idea. Like this shit's so complicated and complex, and like you say, I mean these are people who are these are two peoples that share history and culture and languages and
I mean, Biden is pushing for it. He can go do it, join the ring with them. I
so
mean, just that. I mean,
what the oh that reminds me of I think it's over um but it was on Twitch. There was that AI debate between Trump and Biden, and uh, it's two fake Trump and Bidens that are basically.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's hilarious.
It really is, but I don't know if they're still doing it. Let me see if I. It's Trump or Biden 2024 is the name. It is two fake people arguing based on what you would think that they would say, but they go just like way overboard and say things that two politicians would never actually say.
This is where's the sound?
And it is extra ridiculous. But it's entertaining, I can admit. And I would actually love to see this with non-ironic or non...
Dude, where's the sound?
It should be part of the video. Move your mouse over the video.
I got it turned.
Yeah, so
how come I'm not hearing it?
or did you click on mute accidentally on your computer sound?
Oh, I know. I clicked. Hold on. Where talk to him?
Yeah, so that's Jesus is still making some sound. They should have Jesus show up in the middle once in a while. Be like, my children.
Oh, Jesus should show up between Putin and Zelensky and Biden and be like, relax, everybody, relax. All right, so why are they not talking?
That's a good question.
No, they're moving their faces.
They are. Maybe just copy the link and then reload a new page. Maybe there was a glitch on the actual page itself.
That's weird.
There might be a YouTube. If you type Trump or Biden 2024, there's probably somebody who did a compilation of their favorite clips.
Okay, let's see.
Oh God, we have 1 year and 3 months before the next election. So in November, I guess that's going to be the year and 1 year before the election, and that's when all the advertisements and all the craziness is going to kick up an extra level. And since the theme of the day has been AI, I'm sure, and it's gotten pretty crazy in the past year. This election season is going to be one like we've never seen before. Just like the next one will be even more extra crazy.
Why is there no sound? This is driving me nuts.
Go to the options. Maybe there's a select speakers.
Do I have to sign up to Twitch to do that?
No, you
No?
shouldn't need to.
Oh, here, look, it's working on the. Where's the Twitch?
Type Twitch. Oh, you already typed Twitch. That's a short. Probably that one, not safe for warfare.
This one?
Yeah, click on that one. See what's. So, for these videos, I believe YouTube has an option when you're uploading the videos where you can ask it to transcribe. So you can get an output of what's been said. And I think you can copy.
You're talking, is this an AI program that will transcribe your
I
videos?
think YouTube has an option to do that.
I'm going to veto everything he tries to do.
There you go.
Shove it off his dick and shove it up his ass. So far, he'll be shitting out his own balls.
There, it's not the right video that you're
For
putting.
people wondering, this is going to be a 24/7
Click.
stream. Trump versus
Click
Biden,
that.
and
Go to the
idea
top left.
is that
You
they
see the.
interact with the chat as
No, no,
well.
no.
It's,
You see the
presidential
second.
debate 2024.
You see how there's a there's a little speaker right there? Yeah, that's the one that's speaking.
Sleepy Joe probably drools all over his pillow while dreaming about China.
Listen up,
Don't
Jack.
click on the speaker
I don't
because
give
that's
a
going to
flying
mute
fuck about
that.
you, my pillow or your mommy's bed. And as for Sleepy Joe, he's not the one drooling over.
So
It's got some gross expressions. They got any bit more clean.
yeah, this is not safe for work.
This is 18 plus.
Not safe for not safe for church.
Probably not safe for some of my audiences.
So, like I said, your podcasts, when you upload them to YouTube, you should check, see if YouTube has an option.
No, I heard you.
And you take that, you copy it, and you paste it into your ChatGPT. And then you can ask ChatGPT to summarize. Or you can ask ChatGPT to give you the main points that were said. And it will do that. And it is that easy. Well, easy. That's once you kind of know what you're trying to do or what your goal is. Yeah, you can X out of that. This is a potty mouth.
Yeah.
It's just teaching people to be rude to each other.
I'd like to hear some real arguments instead of just being nasty and filthy.
That's true, but that's why this, even though this is like really crazy and different, I do feel like that specific type of entertainment format is effective. And you could query Neil deGrasse Tyson and I don't know, Margaret Thatcher, who cares? And then have those two people go at it on different topics.
But is it using
It uses
some of
everything they
the
say.
ideas that they have,
Yeah.
some of those concepts that they believe in.
So if somebody writes books, right, like if they have a biography, or if they do a lot of public speaking, they have a lot of, there's a lot of data out there. And then another thing is you can make those people go through a set of questions. Like there can be a standard set of questions that if that person goes through and speaks through those topics, then the AI knows a little bit more about how to approach whatever topic is being spoken about.
I'd like to see a good debate video. Unfortunately, I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, it's not out yet. And I don't know how. Does it create problems with the fact that you're using the likeliness of someone?
What do you mean?
So let's say Yura is a famous podcaster in 2025, 2026. And and then all of a sudden you Google your name and a debate shows up between Yura and someone else, Lex. But it's not you, it's an AI version of you. And it starts saying things that, yeah, it sounds like you, but you don't necessarily agree with, or it makes you feel like it's misrepresenting who you are. And it's making the sales of your T-shirts go down for whatever reason, or your alpha.
Going into the future, everybody has to be, anybody who has any kind of sort of public appearance, life, public figure, should be ready to see any kind of fake representations on their behalf.
How do you know a lawsuit? How do you know you might not win a lawsuit over defamation? Some random YouTuber, like I said, puts you an AI version of you, and then people end up writing you nasty emails saying you're such a ugly person. How could you? And then you're like, I never said these things. That's from an AI. You would have grounds to sue that YouTuber that has been making fake content of you.
You know who's suing YouTube right now?
I'm sure there's plenty of people suing YouTube right now.
Kennedy Jr.
Kennedy Jr. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. The thing is, you can
They
sue anyone
removed
for
some
anything, though.
they removed some of his content, some of his speeches, so he's suing YouTube.
Okay, well, he can sue. That doesn't. He might win. He might not. He might settle.
You like him as a candidate?
I don't have.
Have you heard
opinion.
anything that?
I heard his Lex Fridman interview, and I thought the interview was pretty good. He had some things to say. Did he present to me as a presidential type? Not necessarily. He didn't like he had interesting things to say, but did he have the qualities that made me feel like, oh yes, this would be an effective president? Not necessarily.
What are those qualities according to you?
I don't necessarily think that these qualities are things that would be enumerated off the top of my head. It's more of you can tell by how people, like, what they talk about, and there's, I mean, the thing is, it's so complex because it has not only has to do with
Would it be
how
a
you're
fair
projecting
criticism
yourself.
of him when somebody asks him a question and he goes into really great detail for example, vaccines or something else, something that pertains to one of the cases, one of his lawsuits that he participated in?
I mean, I think
Maybe
I think that
would you
the-
say a presidential candidate kind of have to give you a slimy answer and just over the top, kind of gliding?
I think if a presidential candidate, if you're trying to use vaccines as a platform for making their point, I think they lost me
Mm-hmm.
already.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I don't really think that that is a point that that should be on the stage when we're trying to talk about, hey, are you presidential? Like we have actual people who work in vaccines that can give us the best known information about whatever particular vaccines were or that are the subject. And so I feel like it's a subject that's it's like a cultural subject that's easy to divide people. And
You think vaccines are cultural?
the way vaccines are spoken about lately is not really approaching vaccines from the point of view of, like, there are professionals in the vaccine field that dedicate their lives to it. And
But doesn't it seem like that whole take on vaccines was very scripted by
which
but
take and on which vaccines?
just to push them on everyone?
But which vaccines are we talking about?
COVID.
Are we talking about COVID?
Yeah, specifically.
Well, we had a pandemic and we were all trying to figure out how to cure each other.
Yeah, but
And-
the people were threatened to lose their jobs if they weren't going to take the vaccine, and there was no solid scientific evidence for
I mean,
those.
I don't.
It was-
I don't know
it
what
was-
your qualifications are for solid scientific evidence, or the lack thereof. And then I'm sure there are plenty of people who got threatened to lose their job or lose their job for that. Just like there's people who get threatened to lose their job or lose their job for absolutely no reason, because we live in America and you don't need a reason to fire someone.
Yeah,
So in
well,
the end, it doesn't matter if people were lost or threatened to lose their job over this vaccine thing, because again, in America, you can lose your job for absolutely anything. It's called right to work. So you can make up a reason. It might be because you cut your hair too short.
man, do you know that RFK Jr. had addictions issues in the past? This video from Jimmy Dore show.
What kind of
We
addiction?
have special guest in studio with us. It's RFK Jr.
I mean,
He's an
people-
environmental lawyer, law professor,
And how he
activist,
overcame.
best-selling
He had like a
author. From
spiritual
1986
awakening.
to 2017, he served as a senior attorney
I mean,
for the
it's-
Natural Resources
that's-
Defense Council and was
It's good that people.
No, it's like
Face-
it's a really legit, like how he overcame that. I mean, up until before he had the spiritual awakening, whatever he tried, he was just powerless to over. He just had issues with his life.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of addiction is people get lost and they cope with
Let's
addiction
hear it
and
for a
they
second.
Being such an incredible leader and so courageous about all of these issues during the lockdowns. I watch your show regularly. I think myself and a lot of Americans got a lot of hope. You were one of the first guy who was being funny about it. The humor is such an important part of.
I guess you can put the
change and
the
criticism
box
and political dissent.
right here. So that when I'm
It was
looking at the
weird what
TV,
happened
I'm
there.
actually looking
I'm
at
sure you
the
noticed
box.
this, that all this
Yeah, but then
stuff
it's gonna cover my face if I bring it up on my.
Well, can't
the
you make
people
the
that
box
we
on one
laughed at
side for
for
one
20
camera
years,
and then on the other
nothing
side for another
funny.
camera?
It's tough. It's tough. It's only one or the other, and then you have to mess with the settings.
Okay.
It was shocking.
I know what you're talking
I'll
about.
go
And then it
with
was a
that.
few kind of right-wing comedians that, you know,
I know Jimmy Kimmel. I haven't talked to him for talking points and establishment. I mean, it was nuts to watch.
Anyway, my point is this video from Jimmy Dore show how RFK
So
Jr. beat addiction is really amazing. It gives an inside peek on how he struggled with it, and he had like a spiritual awakening. And right now, I think that's really relevant because of all the fentanyl going on in U.S.
I mean, relevant.
Over
Fentanyl's been relevant for a decade now.
over 100,000 deaths a year. Like 108 is the count.
Yeah.
That's a ton of people dying, man.
hmm Yeah, there's plenty of people dying from fentanyl. It's been years. But we don't seem to be doing much when it comes to the war on drugs and people getting addicted to things and then shunned from
But
society or treated like criminals. It's
There's something that can be done by controlling that, having some control over that substance coming into the country. I mean, that they can. They can
have
do
control.
some- they can do that.
How are we gonna have control?
I don't
There's
know.
Weed
Put all
and
this.
cocaine
It
and
seems
all
like
sorts of shit coming
it just
through.
seems like they're not doing anything. Look,
Well, I
there's
mean, of course
100,000
they're
people
doing-
a year dying from
You-
overdosing on this thing, and it seems to me like if somebody really cared, they would put a serious stop to it.
I mean, there's plenty of people that do care and that are doing things, and there's plenty of other people that don't care and are making money from the movement of product or the movement of money. That's a part of that whole the operations or the counter operations. It's and the ones who ultimately lose are the people who overdose. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are dying from
100,000 divided by
I mean,
365.
I've known.
That's almost 300 people a day. Divide that by
What do you think is a solution?
300 people a day dying from fentanyl.
What do you think the solution is? You can't.
Cut the supply.
How? We'll supply from where? If it's coming from where? It can come from China through Canada, or it come from Mexico through the water, or it could be made in the U.S. Like, how are you gonna do? What can you do? You're gonna throw more people with guns at it? You're gonna do what? Create public service
least
announcements?
Do something. I don't care what. I mean, I do care what. I don't want.
You're gonna create
I don't want army.
centers
I
of
don't
people
want. I don't
to
want the
go?
armies to go out and just start shooting people or locking people up.
Who are you gonna shoot? Who are you gonna lock up?
So many years, but clearly there is like a
You're
serious,
gonna make
serious
drug
problem.
rehab places?
Though I don't
You think
know.
there should be buildings where people can go and rehabilitate or take the drugs in a safe environment? Because those places are not being funded by some governors or some states. Some states are trying, some states aren't.
There is a debate if those places do even work. I mean, they do work.
Is there
for
a
someone,
debate? If you don't,
for someone
if
who
we don't
is
try,
really trying to overcome their addictions, they do work.
Okay, so if you can
but-
help only 20% of the people, isn't it make it worth the investment? We're here to help people.
According
We're
to
not
me,
here to make
according
money,
to
right?
according to me, if it only helps just one person, it's worth it.
Then it's fine, even if it doesn't make money. Because isn't that the point of a government, is to actually be able to...
Do something with those tax dollars.
Yeah, and even if that thing doesn't make money, because the government is not a business, it's not there to specifically make money on the micro scale.
Cut the supply as much as realistically possible. Open up rehab centers. Offer some alternative.
I mean, those are what methadone clinics are for.
Mentors after people come out of those rehab centers. Have mentors guide them for so time so they can get eased into.
But a lot of people who are dying aren't necessarily the people who are addicted.
Regular
Those are a lot of people who are dying are the people who purchase, for example, meth or cocaine or ecstasy, and that thing is cut with fentanyl, and then they die because the cut is too strong, for example. And that's happened to somebody I know. Like people are, and then there's people who don't do.
It happened to a couple of people I know. I knew last year,
and it's crazy. You can have like a whole group of friends all die just because.
And it's really messed up. One day, this person is talking to you. Next day, you find out they're not there anymore. It's
and then
weird.
Education about like having fentanyl test strips, and having the city giving them out for free. Having
there you go.
Have you heard of
test strips? That's a great idea.
You've heard of Dance Safe?
No, I haven't heard.
It's in the UK or I think it could be in the US. But it's pretty much they'd set up and during music festivals or during events where they know people are most likely consuming substances, and you can bring the drugs and show them and have them tested without anybody getting arrested. Like you go to a place, you're like, hey, I bought these drugs, I want to test it.
At the very minimum, that there should be those. I mean, look, I'm
illegal.
down for everything.
It's
I just need these people to stop dying because there's a better life on the other side.
What do you do when the country has laws that don't even allow people to consume? I mean, if drugs are illegal, period, no questions asked, then how do you help people? How do you create an environment of where people can actually take their drugs out in public without fearing that they're going to get arrested somehow? So, I mean, it's a complex issue.
But it's an issue that can be worked out.
Not when the state isn't willing to take proper steps to make sure the populace is able to.
Certainly if some laws have to be changed, and then there's interests who have an interest in not changing those laws, and that leads to continuing people dying because of their overdoses. It's just gonna go on like that in perpetuity.
I mean, we have people dying of overdoses of alcohol every day as well. Every day, people dying.
What are those numbers?
Of alcohol poisoning, or getting behind the wheel, crashing their car. It's alcohol-related deaths in the U.S. per year. And then you have people with liver disease, or whatever brain disease you get from consuming too much alcohol.
More than 100. Oh my god.
You think fentanyl is bad?
Oh my goodness. 140,000 people
You don't want to look at the Russian numbers.
in the USA. Approximately 97,000 men and 43,000 women. Okay. So you saying there's more in Russia?
I think based on the total number of people in Russia, I think
49, basically 49,000 in Russia.
And then there's what?
Oh, this is 2018.
And there's 100 million?
150 million people.
Yeah. So, I mean, based on this specific data, there's a higher percentage in the U.S.
143 million. 2020.
Anyway, people are dying from overconsumption or long-term consumption or just too much, like, or just dying from accidents,
From
car accidents,
car accident.
or being killed by somebody who's drunk, or domestic violence at home. And you're drinking and you're already fighting, and then you stab your wife.
Stuff like that
Happens all the time.
I'm sure it happens, but
A lot. Way more than you think.
you should be able to see that coming.
You should be able to see it coming. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are
The thing is,
stuck in their relationship.
they just don't
and
have
are
anywhere else
powerless.
to go.
Yeah, so what are they going to do? And then what happens when you grow up in a household where your parents are beating each
Then
other
you're
up?
used to it. You think that's normal.
Exactly. So what do you expect the person to be able to figure out that they can change or they can find better? Or let's say you already have children and the person's an abuser, and then you're staying for the children, but ends up being the wrong day, and the person comes home drunk and gets in a fight and stabs the wife. I'm sure it happens the other way around, but it happens a lot more of the man killing the girlfriend or wife.
Look, if you're a dude and your girlfriend is hitting you, you need to get out of that relationship.
I mean, if you're a dude or a chick and the other person's hitting you, then you should probably have a discussion with yourself.
If you're a chick or a woman, lady, female, and a dude is hitting you,
Get the fuck out of there.
You need to get out of there.
But some people are trapped. And what happens if you're in an arranged marriage where you can't get away?
Who gets an arranged marriage these days? I know in the Indian culture
There's
they
Muslim
arrange
cultures. There's some Indian cultures. I'm sure there's some Christian cultures. There's people who, and then there's people who just, like, what, Catholicism, you're supposed to get married and you're not supposed to get divorced. That's kind of a psychological prison for some people. Because if you leave your husband...
That's how it is in... You said Catholic?
For some Catholics. Yeah, if you leave your husband and then your whole family is going to want to disown you because you're not supposed to divorce. So you stay with the husband even though you're getting a black eye once in a while or bruises on your arms.
You know, a lot of that can be solved if people just start reading some wisdom in the Bible.
All right, so you're going to explain to all the abusers that all they need to do is open the Bible?
Yeah, learn how to cast out demons. I mean, clearly, if the guy is going crazy, or if your partner's going crazy,
who's going to take that first step to? And
clearly, there's some unclean spirits there.
Sure, but
or some kind of mental illness.
Okay, but how is your solution feasible? Like again, you can give answers, but those things have to be like, how are you going to convince the millions and millions of households that have dysfunctional problems?
If you don't change your act, you're gonna spend eternity in a really bad place.
So you
And if you do want to change up your act, you can have a wonderful life, healthy, happy. That can start as soon as today. Just try to learn about things and
so to cure
start with wise sayings from Proverbs. Even if you don't want to believe in anything spiritual or some deity, there's just some basic wisdom in Proverbs.
But how do you know that teaching the fear of eternal death or whatever, hell, how do you think that's going to help someone?
I'm not that advanced to know about his eternal sufferings and all that, but I just know that if you
that's
start,
part
if
of the
you
fear
start,
of God.
if
right?
if you start doing good, what goes around comes around, and that you start learning some basic wisdoms. Look, I'm nobody to speak about all the wisdoms and everything. I'm still working on a lot of issues myself, but faith does help people, and especially with issues like addictions. I mean, you can get medical treatments for it or whatever, but getting in touch with
I mean, it's psychological
spiritual aspect of your existence does put a lot of things into perspective.
Yeah, it's psychological treatment.
Psychological treatment or psychiatric treatment, I think they can only go so far.
I mean, that's
temporary.
That's what you're explaining. If you like somebody having or using religion or religious logic, which I mean Christian logic, to help oneself, like yes, that can and does happen, but that's a type of treatment. That's psychological treatment.
I mean, yeah, it is treatment. You know, in the New Testament, Jesus didn't. I mean, it says he came to help the sick, the struggling, the poor, and it is tough for someone who thinks that they have everything is great, to try to go out and become, like, I guess, proficient in faith, or start to believing in a higher power. It's just, I guess you don't have time. Someone wouldn't have time for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the whole capitalism as a religion
of materialism
falls into. Well, the new religion is capitalism, as in your deity is the economy, or the mighty dollar.
But it's a lie. You know these material things, they're not gonna make. Once you have a roof over your head, and you have some food, and you have like some basic car, having a really, really nice things is not gonna make you that much happier.
Yeah, but when you turn on the TV or the internet or your social media, and then you see how happy other people
pretend.
Are.
You got to be pretty shallow to be happy from something.
You see your neighbor's nice car, and then you want to.
Me personally, I don't care.
Have your
take those nice things, hang it up on the wall or in your garage. I could care less.
Sure. It's different ways for people to.
I mean, look, if you're younger and you're a kid and you like toys, you want shiny gadgets.
I mean, people want the basics. I mean, you want the basics covered, but people are always going to want something else to fill their day. And I mean, I guess from your perspective, if they're not filling it with God, then they're filling it with something else. And that might be want for further expanding their social or material worth.
You see, the statement filling it with God sounds like it's work, like it's a chore.
I mean, to some people it can be.
When somebody realizes that God is just there, I mean, and just being aware of that, it's not really a chore to fill your day with God. I mean, because that sounds like a chore. But if you have someone realizes,
sure, because you're
it becomes
framing
aware
it that way.
of a deity and being spiritual, in that aspect, they developed a certain level of interest, and it's not a temporary interest like, oh, I got a new car or something. It's it seems like that knowledge is you're always acquiring more, and your life is getting that much more interesting. And you're also growing, internally growing, like it's hard to explain. I'm still working on all those explanations.
But you're still in that framework of acquiring more, kind of like in that capitalist point of view of more and more and more and more things, but in a different, you're just more in this, it's like more of the word of God, or more of the truths of reality, or the truths of morality, or
okay, so
it's a different type of more. Or if you're a preacher, more people in the congregation, more tithing or whatever.
Okay, so here's an analogy that may work. That DMT, if somebody takes the DMT, they clearly start to understand that there is a spiritual world out there, because whatever out there, that whatever experience they have, they, based on how Joe Rogan is describing it, so incredible you cannot even describe it. So they're very aware that there's a spiritual world. Okay, so that's one part of it. When you start try to understand the scripture, that is a spiritual book, it's not just a book, then spiritual things you start to recognize certain things. And I'm not gonna say that taking a picture that I'm anywhere near of knowing what I'm talking about, as far as that goes, but it's a journey that I'm discovering, and I'm learning about that, and it's really interesting. So the scripture is a spiritual book. It's not just words. And
yeah,
certain things you can say, certain prayers you can say that will put in the spiritual realm, will start setting things into motion. And then you can see those manifestations that start in the spiritual realm. They start to manifest tangibly in your own life. Whatever I said may sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but one would have to try to embark on that journey, I guess,
before things become a reality, you have to create them in your mind. So to put them out into reality, you have to put them into your mind first.
But you can test God, and you can someone who is interested to go on that journey, you can ask him of things, and you can see things manifest in reality. So, but I guess that's a much more deeper conversation for another day, and I would still have to get schooled on a lot of that before I really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you can always ask ChatGPT in the same time. No, I mean, I think it's good, like you're saying, that how you did more of an in-depth conversation with the AI Jesus, and for questions like that, I think it'd be good to have that and ChatGPT and whatever other bots, and then you can have a whole powwow of like asking different bots similar questions. Because I'm sure ChatGPT also has all the scriptures or most of the scriptures.
It certainly does.
For ChatGPT, you would actually have to be like, for your next answers, can you please act as if you are Jesus, and your answers will be based on the teachings of Jesus. If you type that and then you ask questions of it further, it will respond from the point of view of Jesus, which is kind of what that other website is doing. So that's an aspect of these natural language processing tools.
I said.
Your next response from the point of view of Jesus. Yeah. So, what was one of the things that you just spoke about?
I said, for your next answer, respond from the point of view of Jesus. I said, of course, my child, I am here to guide you with love and wisdom. How may I assist you today?
Well, what's I'm gonna go ahead. You.
How can one
How can one experience the scriptures? So I do like how ChatGPT breaks down the answers, because it gives point by point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can then say, "Can you please expand on point number?"
Mm-hmm. So I asked, how can one experience scriptures as a spiritual book? And it gives me bullet points. Prayer and meditation, humility and openness, contextual understanding, symbolic and allegorical interpretation, reflective reading, application to life, connection with divine, seek guidance from the Holy Spirit, discussion, community, regular practice.
I mean, those sound
A
pretty sound.
Connection with divine. Can you expand on point of connection
Number 7.
to divine?
Is it still answering as Jesus? Is it saying, "Certainly, my dear friend"?
Stillness and presence, invocation, sacred space, heart-centered reading, visualizations, gratitude and surrender, journaling, patience and trust,
Do you do journaling?
integration into life. I do have a book that when something comes to my mind, I write it down.
I I mean, arguably, podcasting is journaling for you. I mean, it's
vocal journaling, I guess you can call it that.
So whatever points that you put in your personal journal, you can then kind of use that as topics you can explore on your podcast, or even expound on them through the chat bots. And then
I want somebody to tell me that this is not awesome. I mean, it outlines it so neatly, the things that somebody would have to research for I don't know how long.
Or Googling and then finding the right...
and this is just mind-blowing awesome. To me, this is incredible technology.
It's kind of like when
Thank you,
we
Jesus,
were...
for this technology.
You're welcome.
You're not Jesus.
I speak through... Isn't everybody the God speak through everybody?
He does.
So
he does.
You're welcome.
I guess.
As a representative of God.
As a representative of God, you would have to be a prophet.
Yeah.
Right now I'm reading...
No, I'm not chosen.
Jeremiah.
I'm just represent.
And in those things, in his prophecies, there's a clear guidelines who's a false prophet. I'm gonna ask.
So was Satan a false prophet because it was an angel that turned on God?
To Jeremiah, who
it's J-E-R, I believe, but
is a false prophet. Oh.
It'll know.
Can one identify
and it's prophet with a PH.
A false
No. The PH is...
It'll know. Okay, so here we go.
See, prophet, not prophet. Remember the church of capitalism versus the church of God?
All right, so let's see.
The church of capitalism.
Hey, look, I don't know how to spell
prophet.
everything right, so give me a break. Fruit of their message, consistency with God's word, accurate prediction, motives, and selflessness, rejection of idolatry, humility and obedience, confirmation by God's Spirit.
What do you think of rejection of idolatry?
It's a really relevant.
Because doesn't that mean we shouldn't be idolizing Jesus?
Well, you can definitely idolize God. I don't think that applies to him. But these days, okay, so in the Old Testament, the Jews, God had beef with the Jews a lot. They always not listening to him. They're always making some kind of idol.
Was Jesus a Jew? Or no?
Yeah, he was a Jew. But in the Old Testament, they're walking around in the desert. They're always making some kind of an idol. They're never listening. They're just always... They're just like a troublemaking nation. Just honestly, I don't know. I don't know why God even likes them based on the Old Testament. They're always making some kind of other idol. They want to worship some. They'll make something out of gold and start worshiping. So okay, so you would think that these are ancient people. They're just basic. They're not educated according like the way things are right now. They're just basically crazy tribal people that lived in a day. Nobody,
2,000 years ago?
Yeah, nobody would do such a thing.
They built cities and armies and.
So now, you someone would say, who would worship an idol right now? People worship idols all the time. They'll sit there and focus on some kind of social media all day long. Tell me that's not worshiping some kind of idol.
I mean, if depends on how you're bending the definition of idol.
I mean, I'm not saying you have
there's
to.
American Idol. Those are idols.
You have to bow down to like a little statue or something. That sounds crazy to me.
Who bows down to their phone, the social media account?
But
I guess people.
that's what they used to do in the Old Testament. They used to bow down to some kind of like a gold statue, and God would always be tripping about it. He's like, "What? You're doing it again? I'm gonna get rid of you. I'm gonna get you rid of this earth, all this." But now, not much has changed. People worshiping the money, right? Always thinking about, oh, I need to get some more so I can get me a newer car, better house.
Well, why do we worship the Saint Mary and for the Catholics and the Jesus on the cross?
I don't know. Those are you're talking about icons, like the
That's
drawings?
idolatry. That's
I don't know how all that
or
works.
even the churches themselves, like the cathedrals and stuff. Like that's idolizing large buildings in a way. Like it's being closer to God by having God's palaces made, but isn't the aspect of having a palace a type of idolatry of, if not God, like idolatry of that specific religion of the Catholic religion versus a Protestant religion? Like it's still part of Christian, but it's different.
Well, guess what?
Structure.
Guess what we're gonna do?
Oh,
We're
you can
gonna-
just ask the computer. You can be like, hey, is worshiping
argument of having icons with Jesus and Saint Mary.
I guess the question would be,
Is
is the rejection of idolatry the same as worshiping a statue?
okay, so the answer is
It's giving you a decent answer.
the question of whether having icons of Jesus and Mary constitutes idolatry has been a matter of theological and philosophical discussions for centuries. Allow me to share some insights on this topic. Intent and worship. The distinction between veneration and worship is crucial. Icons are typically used as idols to help believers focus their thoughts and prayers on Jesus, Mary, and other saints, and the intention is to honor and remember them as part of the faith and tradition rather than to replace the worship of the one true God. It is not idolatry. Symbolic representations.
So they're trying to call it
intention to honor.
So
and remember.
instead of idolatry, they're trying to replace it with honoring.
And remembering. I guess it's like
Honoring
easier
and
to honor
remember.
and remember as part of the faith.
So it's a workaround.
Okay, then there's the Eastern Orthodox Christianity, which is in Russia and Ukraine. Icons are considered windows to the divine realm, inviting believers into a deeper relationship with God. The veneration of icons is guided by specific theological principles and practices for rich history of spirituality.
So
Look at all these answers,
that's
man.
so crazy.
This is who would know?
Is the Pope
I don't
idolatry?
I don't think Pope knows these answers. Seriously.
Would the Pope be considered idolatry? Like you're idolizing a person, or does it have to be an object?
Okay. My take on that, if you are seeing any individual who you're just like over the top fascinated with, you're sort of idolizing him or her. I
just think it's interesting because also if you look at the Muslim faith, they take the whole idolizing to the extreme.
Idolizing what specifically?
As in you can't draw the Prophet Muhammad, or even like just drawings in general of people and of like there are, and there the scriptures for Muslims, there's like you like they take idolization to the extreme where you cannot be depicting prophets or a lot of things that would be considered idolatry, because it steers you away from God or Allah.
Okay. Just asked why Muslims prohibit drawing Muhammad. Respect for the Prophet, avoiding you're right. It does have something to do with idolatry. Avoiding idolatry, because somebody who can draw that perhaps will look at that image and idolize it.
Well, it's part of the whole, if I draw you, then I'm defining you. It's like, oh, can you draw God? It's like, no, because I don't know what God looks like. Is it some bearded dude in the sky? Or is it this omnipotent, like, I can't draw you sort of thing?
Well, it says that no one has ever seen God.
Sure, but then my main point is, then we'll go to the next thing down, which is Jesus or Mary, and then, well, we know that white Jesus looks like this, so we'll put white Jesus on a cross, and then we'll call it honoring. But for Muslims, they're like, nah, you ain't drawing shit.
Well, it does say cultural sensitivity. Islam is the diverse religion of followers, very cultural background.
You're fair game for death.
That's crazy.
I mean, some people would say it's crazy.
You see,
some
man,
people would say it's follow the rules or else.
In my mind, it doesn't make sense. If you want to draw something, draw it. If you don't want to draw something, don't draw it. But if somebody
what about the aspect of disrespect?
If somebody else draws something, what is it of your business?
Is it okay to disrespect another person or another person's faith?
It's their drawing. Leave them alone. It's a drawing.
But you might affect somebody else.
Who are you gonna affect with the drawing? It's a piece of paper and it's got some scribbles of a pencil on it.
Because it's communication, and any communication can alter somebody's viewpoint.
But you have to be able to control your own reactions. There is nothing that you should be able to do for me unless you're physically assaulting me or hurting me in some way. You can stand on your head, you can yell whatever it is that you want, you can draw, you can run around naked. That should, on my part, I should not be able to be in any way affected from that. That's your business. If you have mental illness, I don't know. If you have some kind of lack of knowledge, I don't know. But it shouldn't be able to affect me personally. If you're in my face about it, I'm just going to remove myself from that environment, and you can do whatever it is. Unless you're like hurting somebody, it shouldn't be my concern. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difference of interpretation, and
that's my opinion.
Or of the scriptures from another faith. Because from what I understand, if you do see someone disrespect, like in this specific scenario, the whole drawing of the prophet being disrespectful, it's pretty much on you to do something about it, because they're showing disrespect, and that is not okay. It's a different way of kind of of moving through the world, as in one Western culture, let's say, says, or of that, in that, hey, it doesn't hurt me until it touches me, sticks and stones sort of aspect, versus the, hey, you've disrespected me. It doesn't matter if you've touched me or not. You've still created an action that is verbal or
Well,
and
at that point, you don't have to communicate with that person. Nobody's forcing you. If somebody is disrespectful, is disrespectful, whatever that is that you're doing, you can just remove yourself from being.
You can, but all I'm highlighting is a cultural cultural reality. I mean, that's one reason why there's such a big rift between Muslim populations and Christian populations is, for example, something like that.
And this is not just to single out Muslim.
This is an example, just
sensitivity
based on the idolatry.
to the drawing. Anytime somebody is over offended over something, to me, it seems like they're trying to control something else. They have some kind of agenda, and they want to involve you in their agenda.
But what happens?
And as a sovereign person, who has time for all these agendas when there's like much more serious things out there to focus on?
What happens when? I mean, it all depends on what the scenario you're talking about. Because if I start talking about abortion, then you're gonna
look. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, I can't stop anybody from doing the abortion. I can express my opinion, but what can I do? At the end of the day, they're still gonna do whatever they want.
Sure, if they're in a state that they can do whatever they want, but again, if the state criminalizes, yes, people will still do whatever they want, but they'll still have less options and they'll be criminals. So all I'm saying is that, we were using this example from Muslim religion, but when we're talking about Christian religion, there are people who do take action over things that aren't hurting them specifically. Do you see what I mean? They're like, oh, I feel disrespected by these laws, the fact that somebody can take action on their body and have an abortion, so they make laws to stop that action from happening. And in a way, that kind of falls in line.
Well, we all have the right to their own right to a political opinion and petition for certain laws to change. And from what I understand, in a democracy, the majority wins as far as that goes. But someone cannot force anyone else to, if there is no law on it, they cannot force their opinion onto someone else. Everyone has the right to petition to change the law, but if their law is in place that is decided by a majority,
I mean, it's easy to say that, but it's easy to also ignore the dynamics in which how specific laws come to be. Like in an ideal world, what you're saying might sound good, but it's ignoring all the dynamics that
when
are actually
you're saying when
happening.
the rubber hits the road and somebody's personally confronts that issue.
And then it's like who's the big money behind these issues, throwing around their networks and fortunes politically to make things happen. Like, I would love for this democracy discussion to be grounded in reality, but The
Oh,
reality is that there's
wh-
a lot more things happening than just,
when
oh, let's just be
when a group
democratic about it.
of people have a very drastic disagreement on a certain level,
Or our top.
that gets resolved by a, I guess, final stage of a civil war.
So now you want people killing each other?
No, that's my point. I
No,
do
but
not
that's
want
what I'm saying.
anybody for any reason
what
getting
happens-
killed ever.
Okay, but what happens when these topics are not necessarily that we're taught that these are topics that are important or that need to be solved right now, or that are like that's part of the problem is when and then this is just because I brought up the whole abortion thing, but it's saying that it's front and center in our minds because there are people that stand to gain or lose and that are throwing their weight behind it. It's not because this issue is so important. Of course it's important to some people.
But I see what you're saying. It can be used as to win political points for a power
It's
grab.
part of the political game for whatever, power grab. There's so many different people that stand to gain or lose from it. Like it's an ecosystem of power grabs and power losses.
There's some issues out there. I guess we're now
it's-
in the realm of politics. There's some issues out there that at the end of the day, if you ask that candidate, do they if they are completely honest, and you say, do you really personally, you yourself, care about this issue? Does it have effects in your life? They're gonna say no, but they're gonna push forward so they can.
But when they say it doesn't matter, because
to them personally, it doesn't matter.
But as a true politician, shouldn't you say it doesn't matter because I'm a representative of the people, therefore I represent the voice and the will of the people, not my own will that I will impose on the people who voted for me? There's a difference between a politician
That's why I'm not.
acts
That's why I'm not a politician.
yeah, well, and then that's the thing. A lot of politicians get elected and act as mouthpieces for the people or companies that put them in positions of power, and then they don't necessarily make the decisions for the betterment of their constituents.
But that's how I guess you can find out if they flip and flop over time. Then they're just playing to their power support.
Some people play the long game, and if a company knows that a politician plays the company game, the lobbyist game, then that person has value to companies who throw their weight around, because you want those people as politicians because they're the ones that you can change their influence,
The ones you can control.
If you have a politician that represents the people and not the businesses, then a business is not going to like that politician because they're not going to be able to sway them in the way that is beneficial necessarily to the company if the people don't want that thing.
Are they still going to use the electronic ballots in 24 election?
I mean, there should be a combination of electronic and paper. Like a ballot should be made and
In this day
electronically.
and age, man, I
but
feel like they can be
in
easily
Georgia,
hacked.
No, if you allow them to be easily hacked, then yeah, they'll be easily hacked. But if you actually have a proper plan for observation and security of the ballot boxes, like there's the reason why you would have poor security is because it was designed poorly. It's not hard or expensive to have multiple cameras
Look, man,
pointing at the
Jeffrey
machines
Epstein,
24/7.
all those suspicious circumstances under which he died, he was in a cell in jail, and you're telling me they're going to put some security people over a electronic ballot box that is going to protect it? They can do whatever they want. They just killed a dude in jail just like that. He didn't die of natural causes. He didn't hang himself. He didn't. He was killed.
Like I say, we can if
If
we want to
people
design
in power who are those things, anyway.
Well, that's a question you got to talk to with the Secretary of State about, since they're the ones dealing with elections, or the election board and all that, and then the funding for that, and then what states are they taking away funding for oversight for elections. Like there's plenty of ways of making sure that those machines have 24/7 video coverage with multiple cameras of each location for the lifetime of the existence of that machine. Like, it's not like our government doesn't have money to be paying for the extra security so that we can be like, well, nope, there hasn't been any problems or people trying to access these machines physically, or if the machines aren't online. So can we make safe and secure elections? Yeah, of course we can. Is there a will? There's some that have the will to make it happen, and there's some that don't. Some that don't want. They intentionally want the machines to be in a way that can even if they aren't accessed and changed, they want the doubt to be there.
I've never exercised my right to vote.
I'm sorry.
So
Maybe
this
you
is
should.
a weird conversation for me, but I don't think
At least do the local elections if you don't want to like be all in the.
I feel like
larger
I feel like once you get involved, you're always gonna pay attention to every little. It's like
not
getting
an all or
into a
nothing
video
type of
game.
thing.
It's like getting into a video game.
So you have an addictive personality, is what you're saying?
I'm gonna say
can plead the fifth on that.
lately, politics has somewhat become interesting to me. In the past, I could care less, and I'm not gonna say that I'm really, really, really paying attention to everything that goes on right now, but I'm on the fence about voting altogether, because I feel like once you get involved in that video game, you're always looking at any news,
Yeah, but I mean, if you need to vote at
bit
some
of
point to move the
information.
needle, and it's not like you're going to move the needle that much, but if you want the needle to move and have minuscule effect, however much that is, then you vote. If you don't, then if you abstain, then you're just not moving that needle. I'm sure you can always communicate your frustrations and move the needle in another way by communicating how you feel about it. But in the end, there's still someone that's going to be voting. And if you take yourself out of the vote, then you're empowering other people's vote.
I may definitely consider voting, because I'm, no matter what, I'm against any war.
So
I'm against any kind of death whatsoever, and everything else.
okay, so
Everything else, I guess I can deal with.
So when you're voting, you don't have to go to a voting station and vote D or R or I or whatever political affiliation. When you go to a voting station, there are also questions that are asked, like, should weed be legalized in this state? So those questions are, it's not a, oh, vote for Democrat, vote for Republican. It's a vote for this specific issue or this tax. Sometimes it's like 10 cents tax raise for the whatever, and then you say yes or no. So if you don't want to vote for a party, then go vote, but don't vote for the part that asks for you to vote for the party. Just go and vote for
You're
the
saying
specific.
you can vote for the issues and
You
not
can vote-
necessarily for the
Exactly.
candidate?
And if you vote for the
That's
issues,
interesting. I didn't know that.
you're voting like that's like at that point you feel like you've participated in your local elections. Remember, elections isn't all about party. Elections is also about the structure of your local or government or state government and whatnot. So yeah, it's I wish it was more, or I wish it was less about a party system. The party system is awful, and I do not enjoy, especially how the U.S. party system is set up. But when you're voting, you're still voting on other issues. There's also voting for judges and sheriffs and all that, but that's sure, that can be political, but that's also more of a minor when it comes to, or like if you're talking about your DA or your sheriff or your, like those positions, or your judges, hopefully should be less political and more like just action based. Like, is this person good at this job?
Well,
So
we'll see how all that is going to turn out when we start approaching
the election.
the election.
God, it's gonna be a zoo.
Hey, Matt,
how far are we? I don't want to be.
we're-
Oh God,
we're
are we at 3 hours
at
and something?
We're over 3 hours. We're 3.5 or so.
Oh Lord,
Let's
I told you I didn't want to be. But
let's wrap it up, man. Hey, look, Matt, I really appreciate you coming down. It was a lot of fun to talk.
Yeah, of course. Same
Welcome
thing.
back to Georgia, USA.
Thank you.
Um,
You're having you're doing well. I like your continuation of the podcast.
appreciate you. Tell everyone where if somebody wants to get interested in these unicycles or wants to send you a message or
Electric
something like that.
unicycles.
You have any social media you want to share or anything like that?
I am electric _ donuts like Dunkin' Donuts. So electric _ donuts on Instagram. And if you want to find information or look up wheels to purchase, like I said, alienrides.com or ewheels.com. And then for AI, Midjourney for the images is a great tool, and ChatGPT for writing. And then there'll be plenty more tools that are going to come up. And yeah, that'll wrap it up for this time around.
Awesome. It was great to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thank you.